One of the most important year cycles that I've seen in a long time. Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky at long last coming on to film for you all the 2026 year ahead forecasts. Welcome back everyone. I'm so excited to be putting this together for you all today. We will be having some wonderful time for intuitive messages, segments for each sign of the zodiac, all with convenient video chapters below. I've got about 3 pages of notes that I've been putting together over the entire about 3 months that I was away from YouTube after I had the death of my father. Thank you all so much for your kind support during that time. And usually this video would have been posted around the 2nd or 3rd week of December. But yes, this week in true astrological fashion, we're going to be posting it right on the equinox. So the true new year rather than the calendar new year. So that'll be a fun little different way to work with this energy. It's nice to, if you're in the northern hemisphere, to wake up and kind of enjoy the spring energy and think about, how is my life turning over a new leaf? How am I growing to meet new challenges, and what can I put away? Anyway, you all, before I get too much into the intuitive messages, I do want to direct you to the description box below, and I want to invite you to join my channel's free newsletter. This is going to be something that I'm working on more in 2026. It is a wonderful monthly email newsletter. It is completely free. Also, there is an SMS option, which is a great way to just keep the channel together. As of right now, I'm just focusing on email, but the SMS is a wonderful feature as well if you have the chance to include that to keep the channel notifications open and to give a way to work beyond YouTube notifications. So check that out in the description box. Also, I am very happy to say that we now have all of the monthly premium sign-by-sign content here on YouTube as well. So you can hit the join button below to find that. It's so convenient and so fun actually to stream it straight from YouTube. At the same time, Patreon is really being amped up as well. And I have my usual weekly offerings over there, the premium offerings, and more coming soon as well. So I wanted to invite you to perhaps either sign up to the join button here on YouTube or to Patreon, or perhaps both, as both have their own special conveniences and different content types. And that is the way that this channel is possible at this time. And that is the way that I am here providing more than an hour-long free content here on YouTube. So check those out. They are very rewarding, and I put a lot of effort into creating something of value on those platforms. So yes, description box aside, let's definitely get into the intuitive messages for the 2026 year cycle. I'm so excited to be here with you all. But first, maybe you could hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Okay, 2026 year ahead forecast, intuitive messages. This year is so pivotal, you all. It's so pivotal. As I was meditating before I was filming this video, I was praying a bit. I'm like, what do I need to impart in what way that I can here on this platform in YouTube? Like, if there's anything that I can tell people about facing this period of time that we have ahead, it's that do not underestimate the power and ripple effect of the decisions that you're making in the 2026 year cycle. It is a very, very powerful year for decisions that have very long-term implications. And we don't feel it right now is the thing. And this is the tricky part of the 2026 year cycle, is we feel like time's moving fast. We feel like, oh, the world is so chaotic. We also have a time of building global conflict as well, as you guys have probably seen in the news. So that has a lot of people's attention off on, very violent events, and it makes time move very quickly. There's also a global economic crisis happening through inflation, through agricultural issues, through industrial issues. And I feel that so many of us are basically caught up in the conscious mind on all of these sort of external issues. And we also have the processing of the 2025 year cycle still happening at this point. So I feel on one hand that yes, 2026 year cycle, it's like the most important rippling decisions. On the other hand, there is so little bandwidth to process what's actually like happening right now in our personal lives. And this to me makes a dangerous combination. This is kind of an explosive combination to me. And it's also like, to me, a very frustrating combination for a lot of people. And we'll get into the way that, good things are happening as well. But I think that the most important thing that I can tell you is try to free up your bandwidth as much as possible. Try to tone certain things down. Even tightening the belt in some places is a very powerful move to make here. Giving yourself more of your time back in what way that you can. Trying to not engage in frivolous time spending, frivolous money spending, anything that's kind of like eroding bandwidth, eroding time, eroding resources without a very concise or without a very precise reason as to why it's happening. So this is like unconscious spending, unconscious eating, unconscious relationship styles. Okay, I don't know why I'm still with this person, but we're still together and neither of us want to be, but we keep doing it. I don't know why I keep eating this empty calorie processed food, but I'm just like kind of unconsciously eating it, zombie kind of energy, unconscious consumption. This will be very important for targeting in the 2026 year cycle, because that is going to need to be completely removed for a lot of people so that they have maybe enough bandwidth to understand the breadth of importance of the decisions on their plate right now. And there is something also about the 2026 year cycle, I feel, that is spiking people's negative traits. So people's shadow or people's ego problems or people's bad tendencies can be at an edge here because they have to see it. And it's very hard to go into the 2027 year cycle with any kind of like burgeoning under the surface volatility that we're not aware of. And it's almost impossible actually. So 2026 is also a breaking point for a lot of people. 2025 had that as well. At the end, 2026 is a point where, say, we've got like a temper problem, or we've got, like a spending problem, or we've got an earnings problem, whatever problems. Okay, this is great. Yeah, I'm getting a major intuitive hit around the word problem. Okay, problems, problem solving, things that we haven't been able to face for a long time, things that we lose sleep over. They're going to come to a head, and they're going to at least begin to have to be faced in 2026. And this could be, for the procrastinators of the world, something that they don't want to deal with, but also this is very positive in the sense that it begins to free up more bandwidth. So like one of the positives about the 2026 year cycle is you can get like such compounded results in either direction. So doom spiral results, yes, but also like as you for example, as you get certain bad relationships out of your life, as you stop unconscious spending, as you face problems that have been kind of looming over you for years, that's a lot of positive momentum at once. Or it's a lot of negative momentum at once if we keep kind of walling off to it, or if we keep getting stuck in analysis paralysis. So, we get to kind of choose which side of this we want this to be. Is this going to be the easy or the hard way? Are we going to keep on with negative compounding? Are we going to keep deficit financing? Are we going to keep up with the money printing? Are we going to keep up with, unconscious illusions about, class systems and stuff? Or are we going to open the door and engage? Okay, this is another major, major, major keyword for the 2026 year cycle is quote unquote engage. You might notice coming out of 2025 that there is something kind of blocking us off from the meat of the issue that we're encountering. So I feel that people have gotten this kind of hesitation about like actually getting their hands into things and actually fixing it. So like getting your hands into the dirt of your garden, getting your hands onto the actual money in your bank account, okay, rather than, credit card spending. It's a very kinesthetic year. Okay, that's a good word for it. 2026, a very kinesthetic year, very hands-on. 0 degrees Aries, Saturn and Neptune, all right? Hands-on, kinesthetic, there is delegation, there is placing certain things into different hands so that they can engage things, but it's also like things that maybe you have not been able to engage will be very important. And that's why I'm saying you've got to kind of open the door and you've got to step out into the path that you've needed to embark for a long time. So people are hesitant, especially at this point of 2026, like March when I'm filming this. Very hesitant, very lukewarm, very negative energy. Another thing that I noticed coming into this year cycle was that suddenly things got actually like a lot more negative. And this perhaps had to do with all of the water and all the Pisces energy. We have Mercury retrograde in Pisces, Mars in Pisces. We had this huge kind of cluster happen in Pisces right before the astrological new year came in. So it kind of brought about this very impoverished, negative, kind of doom and gloom energy. And it caused me to think that people are maybe lacking a certain creative problem solving. I saw, for example, just this is random, like in the algorithms of some of the social media that I will sometimes scroll through, a lot of content about people like budgeting and just barely like being able to get by on their paychecks, and the lifestyles that were surrounding these like very monetary oriented negative lifestyles. This is sort of like for example, like Japanese salaryman content styles that I noticed coming up onto my YouTube feed a lot. And at first I was kind of interested in it because I enjoy understanding how other people in the world are working with resources. But then I understood that there was also a very negative way that pretty much everybody, like 98% of people, are looking at resources, are looking at money, and they're really tying their body to paper currency, okay? When you know bodies, unlike paper currency, cannot be printed, so it's like not actually a harmonious frequency. So there is also a demonetization for some people of the experience happening here, and there are more non-monetary forms of joy that will be important to implement. I will just say that for sure. We're looking at a very difficult monetary wealth gap. We're looking at a very difficult way that a lot of people are also accepting to engage the monetary system. So accepting certain doom-laden jobs to get through because they feel like they have to be a part of some kind of urbane rentier system, okay? Accepting certain debt obligations in order to get like the carrot at the end of the stick, okay? And one of the more powerful things here is to kind of like engage your life and what you already have in a more hands-on way and work it to sort of accommodate you better rather than borrowing a bunch of money so that someone else can create it for you or give their house to you, for example. Like we are in a way needing to work in a much more kind of like handy, economical way with that which we already have. And that's going to take a lot of creativity and hands-on engagement. You'd be interested to know that, Uranus leaves Taurus in April 2026. Pluto has left Capricorn and has been in Aquarius. And Saturn and Neptune have left Pisces and are now in Aries. What does that say to me as an astrologer? It says to me that the previous paradigm was very monetary and economical and resource oriented with that earth and water. And it says to me that there's going to be a major collective paradigm shift around the way that people think about resources, economy, even like agriculture, all that water earth type of representation. And I think that a lot of people are going to step away from the overthinking about it. And I think they're going to begin engaging their life in a much more kind of subsistence level way. Also, yes, army drafts, army service, military service with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. There's also a very strong economic context to being drafted into the military. It means that you don't have a rent payment. It means that you don't have to buy your own food. It means that you perhaps could get like a pension. It means that you also can get certain preferential financing options as well. So I'm seeing people going to military service in larger numbers for economical reasons because they would prefer that over like renting urbane apartments and living like salaryman lifestyle. Or salarywoman lifestyle. So I'm seeing a new, perhaps, culture around military obligations. And I'm also seeing that other people are so separatist. So I'm seeing off the grid. Like it's kind of like diverging between a more militant lifestyle. And yes, this can be like militant capitalists too. So it's not just like people in like the, legit military. This can be like militant business, militant capitalism, militant entrepreneurship, and then also total separatism. Okay, so like being sort of quasi-independent, anarchic in nature. I'm seeing people in rural situations as well, and going back to subsistence and more communal lifestyles. So this may not really culminate in 2026, and this is not a global dynamics video, but we didn't have time to do that in December either, so we'll kind of merge the annual global dynamics and year ahead forecast into one Leviathan video, especially for you all. Y'all, I'm on a high filming the year ahead forecast. I'm very happy to be back. Side note. But yes, there's this dynamic here that will probably be happening throughout a lot of Neptune and Aries, which is going to make the status quo economical very chaotic because it's already changing hands anyway. There's already like a major wealth transfer happening. And then the previous culture that would have put like, the peace of, having an independent kind of normal, quote unquote, normal lifestyle, salary job, rental apartment, traditional relationship styles, that got actually very popular again after the Capricorn triple conjunction during 2020 and the events of 2020, because it was sort of like a comfort to go back to like what we feel has been normal for a long time, or at least what is in the post-World War II era normality. And that sort of post-World War II era normality focused on urbanization, rural people leaving rural places to go to cities to rent apartments and get, industrial jobs, and all of the cultures that have sort of sprung up around that, all of the sugared out kind of lifestyles that actually are not sugary or are not like sweet in real life, but are masked over, papered over with like urbane experiences like entertainment industries and nightlife and, high capitalism and all of that. Yes, that will be something that 2026 begins to invert in unpredictable ways. I won't even predict it for you here, but I'm just saying there's going to be a kind of edgy, like non-status quo, non-monetary kind of separatist / militant culture that we'll start to see coming up here. And there will be somewhat obnoxious elements to it because of the sextile between Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, and Uranus and Gemini. That's going to be very young, and that's going to be very sort of adolescent, actually, I would call it. Very kind of like 8th grade mentality masculine. So we will all be having to work with that on the inside and on the outside, as it's something that everybody will be going through. So I encourage you in the year ahead in 2026 to think about that. Like, what kind of unconscious impulses do I have that I don't understand the ripple effects of? What kinds of hard line positions do I have that are kind of surface level, unsophisticated, imbalanced, or kind of like obnoxious or out there, or sort of protruding, okay? That will be something that everybody needs to think about. How am I protruding in ways that I'm not like aware of? How am I showing myself to the world? Absolutely. Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, Uranus, and Gemini. How am I communicating my front-facing ego? Okay, big thing for this oncoming few years, and very different than what would have felt acceptable over the last few years. I gotta say, it's kind of a chaotic time for people who are on social media. Okay, if you have any kind of social media business or any kind of, as anybody who really has a business most of the time does, not everybody, but front-facing brands, egos, identities, protruding kind of in your face advertising, that will be something that changes and also gets a lot stronger in some cases, while at the same time becomes obnoxious too. So the finity or the sort of like fine-tuned minor touch or the subtlety of certain entertainments, businesses, even academics or art will become less seen in the algorithm. And as you might have already noticed, a little bit more of an obnoxious, replicable, synthetic, protruding energy will become more like what is put in front of us. So guess what, you guys? It's on the individual to find what they like and to seek it out rather than relying on algorithms, other people, or that which is trendy to be sufficient. Okay. And then just a few other intuitive messages before we get into the all signs portion that I have on my outline. One thing that I have written down is it's hard to, sugar our way out of certain situations. So we're kind of beyond faking it till we make it. We are beyond papering over, wrought with like pretty wallpaper. Okay. We're beyond waiting until like a better time to embark certain paths as well. It's 26, 27, and 28. All these 3 years are very much about engagement and stepping out onto a path that is directly relevant or directly connected to your purpose. Okay. There are also a lot of closed doors here. Okay. I've written down that a lot of doors have closed, and this makes the path much more linear. As for relationships and for connecting with other people, I'm seeing a lot of people, okay, y'all, this is important. A lot of people generally in the collective are not ready to come past their trauma bonds. And a lot of people are looking at quantity. Okay. And I'm going to have to talk about this in the intuitive messages. I didn't expect to, but dating apps. Okay. This video perhaps gives me one of the bigger opportunities that I have each year to touch a larger amount of people's lives. So let's talk dating apps. I would leave that behind here if I were pretty much anyone, because there is overproliferation on a lot of levels in our lives. And I want you to think about this. We have hyperinflation. We have hyperproduction of synthetic content. We have debt crisis, okay? We have a lot of false abundance. And what the dating app does is it puts a human level onto this. So all of a sudden there's 1,000 people on the dating app there for me. And I've got, it's almost like money printing for relationships. And, what does money printing do? It disrupts the essence of value. It's the same with dating apps, meaning that when we're working through the dating app, when we're swiping people, when we're, looking at this huge bank of options for people, there will be no meaningful relationships. In the same sense that like when the central bank prints a lot of money, $1 bill no longer has meaning or significance. In the same way with people and dating apps, when we have all those options in front of us, no one person will ever have like meaning or significance again in an actual sustainable way. We can trick ourselves into thinking it. We can trick ourselves into thinking, oh, wow, I've met this person on the dating app. And there are plenty of relationships that have come from dating apps. There are exceptions. So I'm not coming after all of you who have like post-dating app relationships. Don't think that I'm like coming for that, or if you have something good going, accept that as a gift from the universe. But coming past this point, I feel that this is like very crisis, and I feel that Uranus and Taurus, Taurus being like a relationship dating sign or friendship sign. It does not just have to be with like romantic relationships. This can also be meeting friends. It's just put a digital monopoly on human connection. And it's made it a volatile digital monopoly on human connection, Uranus and Taurus. Well, that's over. And we have Uranus and Gemini now, and it's just for, not for everybody, but for some people, it's better almost to be alone, or it's better to do something for yourself with your life force energy than it is really to engage it. And also to be one of the 20,000 other people on that app. You know, to be $1 bill in, you know, $40 trillion bills. Okay. We'll come back later this year and that number will mean something to you all. You know, why would you want to be $1 in that? It's like being like a drop in the ocean, you know? So like a lot of people are disempowering themselves, defanging their own essence to be a part of some kind of group. Okay, so this is not leaving. This was a big part of Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, being like one person or one individual in like such a saturated group that it's like impossible to have exposure or visibility or a feeling of significance. This is like refugee crisis. This is like mass poverty. This is like 99% versus 1%. This is a phenomenon happening on the Earth plane. And I will tell you that like if we look at like dating apps at a quantum level, it's a bit of a, as I've said on Patreon, and some of my supporters really enjoyed this, it's a bit of a demon summoning apparatus in the sense that it is kind of generating something very intimate and personal to people that sort of makes the psyche and psychology accept this oversaturation of units doctrine as like an intimate, personal element of life, and it ties that to the lower brain, especially when you're talking dating, but friendships as well. It ties that to the impulse part of the brain, and it creates a loop in the psychology that makes that sort of oversaturated, overprinted, overgenerative element, AI, okay? You see why that's happened. That overgenerative, oversaturation of units, psychology that has been brought from the conscious to the unconscious generates such a dangerous quantum effect that one of the only points of power that I can see is to be outside of it. And to sort of witness it, as that's what I've seen in my life was the only way to like work with that, was to kind of witness it from afar, see what it's doing, and see it as the kind of like storm or apparatus that it is, and allow it to kind of work its way through all of these people and kind of just like pray for them as they're going through it. So like that has been my main proximity to the dating apps at this point in time. And I'm seeing that also coming into Saturn and Neptune and Aries. Yes, I'm getting chills. That's going to be the only way that I can proceed from here. So it's going to get like a lot harder though, you all. Here's the thing with like, with impulses and the need to connect and the need to have, you know, human connection, the need to be dating, the need to have partnership is going to become about 10 times more attractive to people, and they're going to get desperate. They're going to want it so bad. They're going to need it, especially if they've not been able to limit that addiction over the 2025 year cycle. Okay, any addiction that survived 2025 is a difficult one to come off of. So this is going to be another wealth divide, you all. This is going to be another wealth gap here in 2026. Those who are reliant on not just dating apps, but we're talking like general consumerist principles, because basically what dating apps are is it's a consumerism doctrine placed onto human connection. And dating is treated like a grocery store experience, or treated like something that, you know, we've got our credit card out to, you know, the dating apps, it's like you got to put your credit card in to like for the software to work right and to have the, you know, whatever amounts of people. So it's all just another version of consumerism. it's okay to not have it. It's okay to mourn also the absence in one's life that it has sort of sucked out of the experience. So it's like, it's so vampiric, and it's going to be something that a lot of people, especially, people in the, people going into more of a military philosophy, they're going to actually kind of like need it, because it's also a similar frequency. If you can imagine, like, people being at like military bases is sort of a, oversaturation of units again in a different kind of way, and a sort of hoarding of like so many units that can be used. These are all similar kind of silo mechanics at a quantum generative level, whether we're talking dating apps, whether we're talking military culture, whether we're talking grocery stores, consumerism, banking. And with Saturn and Neptune changing zodiacal cycle, we're not just talking about a Saturn-Neptune sign change. We're talking about an entire millennia level shift. It always has a drastic impact on any mechanic that humanity is using as a certain like overall. So, we're talking last time Neptune was in Aries, we're talking like Civil War era, okay? When you had, the construct of like land-based feudalism, slavery, that was kind of upended to some degree, in a major way, but it also in some ways in both major and minor ways. So there's going to be a similar thing like that here as well. Okay. There's going to be, you had Industrial Revolution. You have now the innovation revolution with AI and everything, which I don't feel confident enough to speak about on YouTube at this time. All I can say is it's opportune, and I'm very happy to see people, society continuing to advance itself in certain ways. But yeah, we've got a very strong chaos with overgeneration and overprinting and overabundant cellular generation as well. So this is interesting, because I didn't expect 2026 year ahead to kind of like pivot off onto talks about like dating, relationships, and the way that technology is intersecting with what has been a very primal part of human life always. But let me talk about something important here. What is there only one of in this world? Guess what? There's only one of you. You cannot be mass generated. You cannot split yourself into 1,000 different people on a dating app. You can't be printed. You can't be recreated. So careful about consciously engaging very replicable, hyper-generative, overly abundant, overly consumerist anything, because the frequency of it contradicts life, and the frequency of it will downregulate your vibration, and it will give you a false sense of abundance and a false sense of immortality in a way. Because when you have the money printer, or you have the infinite supply at the grocery store, allegedly, or you have the infinite supply of people on the dating app, you get this kind of like rat in a cage feeling, where it's like, I can just be supplied anything that I need at any time on infinite loop, and it just demeans every single like meaningful thing in your life, and it becomes very hard. This is like the negative results of Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. It becomes very, very hard to then identify what is actually essential and non-essential in your life. It becomes hard to identify what is replicable and what is not in your life. It becomes hard to recognize what is a good person and a bad person on the dating app, or what is someone that is easily replaceable and who is not. And then again, just even thinking about it from that perspective is like not a humane perspective. Like, imagine thinking that like a person is or is not replaceable. That's again an inhumane kind of thought. And I feel like everybody, when they've got their like little rectangular cell phone in their hand, and they're like swiping through people on the dating app, how humane is this? This is complete dehumanization. I don't know, you're on the toilet and you're swiping through your dating app, or you're in your car waiting on your significant other to like come out of the grocery store and you're swiping on your dating app, I don't know, on the phone that you hide under the seat in your car that she doesn't even know like exists, or he doesn't even know exists. That happened. I've had someone tell me that that's happened to them. What a dehumanizing experience for every single person in the situation. You know, the significant other, you know, the people you're swiping, yourself, the dehumanized indentured servants or slaves in a foreign country that created that smartphone for you that you hold in your hand to secretly hide under your seat so that you can be this. Like, this is what you have become. This is like an extreme example, but like I'm trying to impart the kind of like macro sadism that is sort of infiltrating the choices in each moment, each minute, each second of people's impulse by this being tied to the lower brain. Okay? Think about it. Think about it. Think about if it's a good use of your time. Think about your sensitivity, and think about what it is to be a sensitized or desensitized human being, what it is to be sort of lively or zombie-like as a person. And consider the ripple effects of certain things. You know, someone didn't match with you on the dating app, that can throw a ripple that you don't even understand works in a certain way. You know, having a significant other that was met on a dating app throws a ripple. And it actually makes it less likely for that to work out. It doesn't make it impossible. I believe in miracles. And bad things can lead to good things. But it puts a down regulator on the relationship because you have something that has been generated by a construct or an apparatus rather than through authentic or organic connection. So that's something to consider here. Do I have things in my life that are generated by some kind of inauthentic apparatus, probably created by some business person? Or do I have something that kind of came about organically through my own engagement of life? And it's very hard now to achieve the second one. So that's kind of the crux that we're in here, is like now, because of the normalization and because everybody has kind of like lost their sensitivity to and their confidence as well to sort of step out onto more authentic forms of connection. It kind of forces everybody else to abide by the construct and to participate in it. So you get this kind of like very dangerous mechanism there. And you better believe that it's being replicated and recreated in other industries and probably every other single industry because of how successful it is. So every other single thing. And you see, this is how freedoms leave, is through this kind of thing. So you see the importance of participation or not in something like this, because there's still a chance. I feel here a small one, but there is still kind of a chance to kind of go a different way collectively with that specific construct. And finally, with the dating app thing, is the other problem with it is like people are starting to lose lessons on individuals. So it takes like 20 people now. This is the sort of generative element of it. Whereas with like, you might have learned a very important life lesson with one person. Now it will take 20 different minor connections to teach the same lesson. So like you have to go through an entire like cycle of voice notes with that person and then like 19 other ones before like the real barrier is crossed, because of the degenerative nature, which again de-essentializes, diminishes, dissolves the frequency, downregulates the frequency, meaning more time required, meaning more dense situations, meaning slower, kind of clunkier learning, okay? And I don't want it for us, but it's important to know what we're facing. So another thing, 2026 year ahead, moving past the dating app thing, which is a major thing for this year ahead. Okay, we have reforged internal fascia. So this is a wonderful year for healing the body, you all. Speaking of body and health a little bit, we'll just corner the entire market here. Great year for working on the fascia. Great year for creating a new healthy exercise regime. Okay. Great year for healing a fascia wound. So chiropractic, kinesiologist, that's the word, I believe. Acupuncture. Okay. Deep tissue massage, therapies of any kind, as it's not just physical fascia. We're talking emotional fascia. We're talking multi-generational trauma fascia. All of this can be resolved. So it's a wonderful time to be working with therapists, astrologers. You're very, very blessed here if you have the chance to fund a little bit extra health budget into your life. And I would definitely recommend that here and start out on a good foot. Anything in 2026 that you can start out right. Okay, so starting on a good budget, starting on a good diet, starting on a good health strategy. Okay, health strategies, putting strategy onto things that you have sort of not thought about that way. So I've never really thought strategically about my health. I've never really thought strategically about like my house or my property or my budget. Saturn, Neptune in Aries, it's like a spiritual fulfillment through the implementation of new strategies. Okay, it's the positive side of it. So, yes, it will kind of take some inner steel, though. So, like resolve, it's not sometimes the easiest strategy. Again, like dating without dating apps is not going to be an easy strategy. But it could be rewarding, or at least implementing some kind of different overtone onto that construct could be rewarding for some people. It's not easy to fund like your own property and like therapists and doctors and health people and have healthy, clean food. That's not easy. And it's going to take a strategy for 99% of people to bring that about. But, you see, what does strategy mean? What does strategy mean, you all? The only reason a strategy is needed is because it's not happening naturally. Okay, so here's the other end of all that, like organic versus inorganic construct. It's good for 99% of people to have some strategies in their hand and not just be like zombies or sheep or cattle or something and kind of just like automaton through the consciousness. Like take some of your time back, take some of your resources back, take some of your strategic capacity back and do it a little bit better. Okay, there would have been something kind of sloppily done. For most people over the last few years, we can do better. We can do better is the main feeling. As we'll be coloring in certain gray areas. We'll be overcoming addiction and abstract confinement. We'll be recovering from previous years' mental funnels, from previous, kind of black hole experiences, traumas. And yes, we are going to have to differentiate value from emptiness. Okay, that's probably the main important thing for this year ahead. But we've been going for like 45 minutes already, you all. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over into the sign by sign and we'll see what's coming up for each individual sign for 2026. I hope you've enjoyed those intuitive messages. And before we start, I would like to welcome you all to the join button below. Would you like to see all of the March 2026 or, any time period going forward of premium content from this channel? Do hit the join button below and select the monthly sign by sign option. And yes, with one click of a button, you can access all of this channel's premium content. And not only that, you can help this channel to grow and to be more popular on YouTube and to give Sky more capacity to film more content for YouTube. So yes, hit that join button below. And if not, hit the like button, subscribe, share. And there are also other offerings on Patreon as well. So check that out below. And without further ado, let's definitely step into the 2026 sign by sign. Okay, Aries in the year of 2026. Welcome, Aries. This is your year. Yes, we now have Saturn and Neptune in your sign. It is right here at 0 degrees and 1 degrees as we're moving into the early part of 2026. And it's just not really possible to use any past experience as a reference point for this time. You really have to step through each part of this with the willingness to absorb, kind of like a sponge, new experiences and learn new skills. So new skills is a major part of the offering of this year ahead. New skills, bold activation, new forms of power that yield better results than you previously imagined. But there's also a question of sustainability here, as you can see that you have arrived in some way, or you have some kind of backing or support construct that is helping you to exist in certain spaces on a more powerful footing. How is this sustained, and how much are you leaning into what I would say like an axis of faith versus limitation? So let's dig into that a little bit. Faith versus limitation, Neptune and Saturn. There's going to be this one element of Aries energy that wants to really expand and become a different kind of being or a different kind of identity. And there's going to be, in some cases, the most meaningful, beautiful experiences that encourage, inspire, and grow this kind of new identity element of yourself. And there's going to be this other force which kind of questions it. So that gives a kind of a scrutiny to the energy here as well. So a lot of the things that you're doing may also be scrutinized. And you may very well have both supporters and what would be the opposite of that? I don't know, like subverters, okay? And this will create a certain kind of alchemy that keeps boosting you, though. So I don't want you to worry about like criticism or scrutiny. Sometimes criticism can also be very good for you all during this time, as maybe you can learn much more sustainable ways of being energetic in a situation through criticism or scrutiny. Kind of like singers, for example, through working with a vocal coach and sometimes having their current techniques criticized, scrutinized, and then educated, they can become better singers, or they can become better vocalists. So you may need some kind of coach or some kind of critique, or someone who can give you constructive, structured criticism in the year of 2026 to really start this all out right. So yes, I'm really feeling that for Aries, and actually for everyone. This is a wonderful year for working with a mentor, working with a coach, working with someone to bounce ideas off of, as some ideas will have to be scrapped here as well. Neptune and Saturn together will create this element of like, I've really got to get down to the essential. I've got to really sometimes contract or take this really wide Neptunian energy and bring it into a form that's actually usable and recognizable on the earth plane. So that will mean letting certain things go. That will mean cutting certain expenses. That's a big one for you guys here. It's so crucial for Aries and all signs in 2026. It's kind of an Aries year. We've got a fire horse as well as a majority of energies in your sign, especially in Aries season and at the equinox. So this is a very Arian year. Yes, we have to make things smaller. Okay, Aries is kind of a small energy. It is a precise energy. It's kind of like a pinpoint. It's kind of like it's like a penetrative energy, which usually requires a small and sort of pointed kind of energy to work with, which means that excessive kind of, in some cases, dulling frequencies have to be eliminated, okay? So elimination of dullness, Aries 2026. Being in careers or fields that do that. So this could be like an accountant that cuts off certain expenses for a business. This could be like a politician who actually reduces spending or reduces some kind of deficit or something. This could be also in the beginning, as we've already seen, like failures to do so. But as we actually move into 2026, there may be people who can understand ways to like penetrate through the malaise or penetrate through the fog or blind components of any larger structure, as to wake everyone up to understand trajectories in larger versus smaller output ratios. What do I mean by that? So if we keep going on a certain deficit path, we will never cross the hurdle. In order to cross the hurdle, there has to be a reduction of exposure. There's going to be a very powerful energy for Aries to work with there, in the sense like, do you understand what your trajectory is if you don't make a change here? Like, if you keep on with this addiction, do you know what your trajectory is? If you keep on with this deficit spending habit, do you know what your trajectory is? If you keep on obstinately clinging to an unprecise path, do you know what your trajectory is? And we already see it coming in, especially like March, April 2026, when I'm filming this video. We know it. We're like, oh, it's so groggy. It's so kind of heavy and dull and just not yielding positive feelings in the body if we're kind of like off or hemorrhaging resources unnecessarily, losing sleep over things, not knowing problems and refusing to solve them. Okay, so here we have a boldly activated Aries with both Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron all in your sign. Good Lord, that is like power. Okay, that's awareness of wounds. That's awareness of pain with Chiron. That's spiritual zeal and artistic flair with Neptune. And that's actual real world support construct, actual material comprehension, power, and capacity to operate through the earth plane with Saturn. So combining all of that together, some Aries people will not be able to almost imagine that they've arrived in that kind of capacity. And some of them, especially over this first year of 2026, will escape. Okay. They will want to hide from this. They will want to also kind of like, I've seen this very strongly for a lot of people, like reverting back to what used to be comfortable, to like get padding away from this more gritty, more visceral, like powerful energy. So notice if you're doing that in 2026. That's okay here for a little while, especially with Jupiter still in Cancer. But when we see Jupiter moving into Leo later this year, later this summer in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to have to be willing to get out of our comfort zone a little bit as Uranus leaves Taurus, Jupiter leaves Cancer, and we get Uranus in Gemini, Jupiter in Leo. That's like kind of grand sextile energy in a way for you guys almost. So it's going to get very crucial to engage certain paths of true, like on the mark decisions. And I'm feeling this in kind of a groggy way, I think, here in Pisces season as I still film this video. But it's interesting. It's like, how can you orient your life or create conditions in your life that actually get you on momentum rather than self-perpetuating doom loops, okay? Negatively compounded situations, earning money just to spend it all, okay? Zero-sum games. There's a puzzle solving needed. There's a puzzle solver's energy needed, and I think Aries has the power to really step into that and like resolve some of these anomalies, okay, in order to like really hit the mark. So this is like taking aim and hitting the mark and not missing, not flubbing, not like being kind of out of it and missing. But it's okay if you're still not like quite the best aim here. Like, this is still so early. We're all still kind of like waking up, okay, especially as the equinox comes through here. So it's fine. But like, if you find yourself, as this is a year projecting video, September, October 2026, like still feeling groggy, still feeling kind of unable to really move or make certain decisions, there may have to be like major contrast situations. And I'm feeling this for everybody to some degree in this year ahead. It's like the contrast happens. So like, I used to rent, now I own, or I used to do like comfortable situations, now I get out of my comfort zone. I used to invest in this, now I am out of that and I'm over here in this, or I used to drive very economical cars, and now I'm like driving sports cars. Okay, so like, or the other way around, or you get the gist. It's like there has to be something that kind of operates with the senses in a different way, okay, than the last few years. So enjoy that bold activation, Aries, and see who you are also outside of any path. And think about the character that you're building as well, as there could be kind of a mishmash kind of character, and you may need to get more precise and hit the mark in a little bit more of a specific way coming out of the Pisces timeline of Saturn and Neptune, and like really choose how you want to express yourself in a very specific, precise way with Saturn. And then there's more power, there's more support, there's more also perhaps financial funding for you if you can kind of like par down and show up as a more digestible. This isn't about being accepted by other people, but yes, sometimes it is when you're talking power, when you're talking support, when you're talking about getting funding from other people, votes, whatever it is. Sometimes this is being about being accepted by other people. And if you don't like that, maybe this is about really going into individualism and being like outside of the whole system, off the grid or something. So it's hard to be upset and wanting both. So like, I want to be supported and I want funding and I want to be seen and known by people. Maybe I want like some kind of celebrity status or something. But at the same time, I don't want to see people. I want to be like off in my mountain retreat, and I want to be kind of like in complete privacy. So like, that's a recipe for misery. And like, everybody's kind of got this going on, and it's just kind of an example, and it can channel in so many ways. Like, they want two opposing situations, like fame and privacy, okay? Or wealth and like financial restriction, or, both, what would be the word? Secular and religious power, okay? And we have to kind of choose. That's what's hard about this Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. But we're going to see people also kind of blurring the line, right? Saturn and Neptune together in Aries. So there's power in that too, but you'll have to kind of solve the puzzle a little bit more. And I'm not going to give you all the answers to that one in this reading. So moving on, Taurus. Taurus 2026, year ahead. Uranus is leaving your sign. We have the last little bit for 2 or 3 weeks after this video goes out of Uranus and Taurus. So we've got anaretic Uranus and Taurus for this first entry into 2026. And for good, it will be leaving Taurus and going into Gemini, and you will have a lot of relief. Okay, I have not, as a Scorpio myself, okay, having that opposition from Uranus in Taurus since 2018 has been destabilizing and kind of nonsensical, and it's created for most people, but especially the fixed signs or a Taurus, it's created an identity crisis, and it's created a bit of a financial chaos as well. So coming through 2026, this is about order versus chaos. This is about admitting that you've got like a little bit of a zigzag frequency sometimes. So like, I feel that Taurus has had these stories that they've wanted to live out where they know who they are, and they know their career status, and they know their financial status, and they know where the money's coming from. They know the locality that they live in. They know the culture that they live in. They know their salary. They know their partner. They know their marital status. And it's kind of like dropped a lot of chaos Vulcan energy onto anything that is like, I know who I am. I know the career that I'm in. And I've seen a lot of Taurus sort of cut themselves off at the knees, basically, where they start to project these egos or identities of like, look at how stable I am. I know who I am. And there's been something dark that Taurus was going through, especially at like the end of Uranus and Aries. So this would have been like 2015, 2016. Things started to get really like just, Taurus. Like, you understand why things had to kind of go through the blender here over these last few years. So anyway, the blender effect is going to tone down a little bit, and you can actually have these kind of like self-decreed situations. I'm also seeing kind of like, maybe you should reconsider where your money is going, where your affection is going. Maybe you should reconsider your reliance on certain things like social media or technology. Looking at anything that you do on like computers, cell phones, smartphones, right? Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is about technology, and Taurus is actually not about technology at all. It's actually debilitated, right? Uranus and Taurus. So Taurus is about real things, housing, food, real forms of value, not fake forms of value. Whereas Uranus is the opposite. Uranus is absolutely about synthetic value. Uranus is absolutely about technology and sort of the creation of alternate concepts through technology and through synthetic sources. So having had Uranus in your sign, and it was so strong over 2025, waning a little bit in 2026, like we're just kind of getting there as I'm filming this video where it's kind of like going out. But I feel that a lot of you are, not all Taurus, but let's talk about the hard stuff first. How can I put it? There's a synthetic rush. Like I get a certain feeling when I have this type of food group, stimulants, okay, caffeine. I get a rush when I have payday. Okay, even though all of my paycheck has to go perhaps to the landlord or to the taxing authority, or maybe this is never anything that I actually had to begin with because it all went away like the second it hit my account, it still gives me this like rush to like go through this. So we have to look at why. Okay, this is interesting, Taurus. This is sort of like little, this is coming up in 2026 a lot, like these psychological doom loops and these incorrect securities or false securities. Why I'm letting this be the rush that it is. Okay, is there a dullness to the current context? Is there a fear of being in actual cognizance of where I actually am in my life, minus all of these technological inputs, minus these financial inputs? So I would take that stuff out. This is so good. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to throw your cell phone into the trash can, okay? But I would be interested to see not just what happens to Taurus, but like what would happen to a lot of people. You can kind of give it to yourself in other ways. Like you can do like a no spend week. You can leave your phone out of your bedroom in the night, and you can turn off your Wi-Fi router. You can even do like depending on your employment, you can do like a week without Wi-Fi, okay? And I'm hearing certain Taurus people or other people cross-listening in the audience going, oh, what a drag that sounds like. But like, that's our real life, you guys. Like, our minds may be distracted by the media on our devices or the hullabaloo that we're going through every day, spending our funds and swiping these plastic cards. But like, our real life is existing no matter what. And when you subtract those Uranian constructs from your life, a lot of people see, and this is hard, they see that they're actually in somewhat of a shell of an experience. And they're not really actually living a human life. They're living a kind of psychosis in a way of like going through hyper empathy or hyper judgment of like people on social media apps all the time. Okay. Dating apps. Yes. Constantly judging, constantly swiping, constantly imagining what these stories mean that people are telling online or telling through their profiles or whatever. And I just feel like it's really depleting the possibility of a blooming self. You know, we talked about the dating app thing earlier in this video, so we won't really go there here. But Taurus 2026, this is about like blooming self and letting go of the things that kind of inhibit your own process of blooming. And this absolutely here can be dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional partnerships or marriages, over reliance or addiction to technology, over cognizance of money or forms of value, can be eclipsing the actual growth that you need to be having at a human level. So I really like putting more time into the simple things like food preparation. Okay, boring for some people, I know, but not for others. Food preparation, growing a garden, whether we're talking, yes, a physical, tangible garden, wonderful. You see, why growing a garden is awesome. Let's talk about gardens. Yes, you can make your own food. That's great. A lot of people can't sustain that in these paradigms, though, so they either don't eat it or struggle to. But what's really great about growing a garden is you see how life generation happens on this plane. Okay, or having a farm, even having like animals on a farm, same kind of principle. But it's really good to see how Earth works too. So like planting, rowing, putting seeds into the ground, understanding that there are certain times where if you put a seed in the ground, it's not going to yield, and other times where it will yield beautifully. Seeing how much time it takes for it to yield. Seeing what harvest is like versus what, barren times are like, or, more, reaping versus sowing, seeing the way that true generative forces in this reality work, not artificial generative forces. So it's important to remember the way that life works in this paradigm is I feel like Taurus has gotten a certain like synthetic, or in some cases it's not even about synthetic daily habits. It's about also emotional traumas from the past. It's about grudges. It's about lack of forgiveness for some Taurus, and it's about a certain eclipsing mechanism, meaning like we are kind of blocking our vision of like what happened before. Some Taurus do need therapy here. Some Taurus have absolutely, this is how it comes together, you all. Some Taurus have absolutely been distracting the pain that they have through technology, through spending, through jobs, through business, okay, entrepreneurship. Taurus have been very strong entrepreneurs over these last 7 or 8 years, and like sometimes that can be such a noisy, loud thing to participate in that you just don't have any time to check in with yourself. And that means that you don't feel the pain anymore, or that means that you're not thinking about the past anymore. So it like works for some Taurus. But here's where you see it's like, okay, I'm getting past the due date or past the expiration date of certain things distracting me. So certain things that mask over pain are like past their expiration date. It's not working anymore. Now I have to actually resolve this. And there is absolutely the likelihood of kind of a downer effect in 2026 as we kind of come off the high that Uranus and Taurus was giving some people. And having Saturn and Neptune in your collective 12th house does mean a journey with the way the unconscious is working, the way that the deeper emotional center is working, the way we've been storing certain memories, traumas, or experiences in less than conscious ways will be a major element of your 2026 and through 2029, actually. So yeah, it's definitely good to get certain distractions off of your plate and to really face the main important points of your life now. Okay, moving on to Gemini in the year of 2026. You're about one of the most blessed signs of this year. You are getting Uranus moving onto your cusp, and Uranus is quite wonderful in Gemini. So a lot of new creative spark coming in for you all. I'm very happy for you. A lot of new innovations coming in, a lot of better functioning systems, a lot of updates, a lot of out with the old, in with the new. It's a bit of a golden year, actually, for you guys, if you let it be, especially once we get Jupiter in Leo. The sextile from Jupiter in Leo, as well as Saturn and Neptune in Aries, is somewhat of a Yahtzee kind of thing for you. So this is a time where you can absolutely do successful power plays. You can sell your current house and find something cheaper and much better and have like a major amount of savings left over because you've made a choice like that. You can have these kind of like monopoly experiences. You can essentially advance to go rather than going through the entire board. So this is about time saving in the 2026 year cycle for you guys. This is about currency as well, voltage. This is about what charges your structure in your life, what charges your body. It's nice to kind of hook yourself back up to the charger here. So you've not been doing some kind of activity that's really good for you, and you can like restart that here. So maybe you've been participating in something like fast food. Well, maybe now you can start up like wonderful medicinal broths here, or you can start up wonderful, celery juice or protein shakes or something, and really get a multiplied kind of return. Basically, whatever you put your focus in here does get a multiplied return. So that is great for positive things, but also really scary for negative things. So there's not much room for something like addictive tendencies. There's not much room for heavy people either. So people with some kind of like complex going on, yeah, this is easy. So like Geminis have been trying to talk someone off the ledge, have been trying to be there for someone with some kind of very heavy problem, and you just may not be able to hold people up much here anymore either, which could also be a big surplus for you. So I'm seeing some Geminis like cutting contact or cutting the connection to certain people who are like taking up a lot of their energy. And you can imagine that also as like bills or jobs that just like take so much from you but don't have any kind of like mutual return. So you're really amping up mutual returns in the year of 2026. And it's nice to have delegation and things that do this for you. So having an agent rather than negotiating your own deals can be nice here. Yet there are also other things in your life that you have to like really get into and use your own hands for. So you might notice this as well, that in order to get something done right, you're feeling like you really have to do it yourself here. And basically whatever you're putting your hands on in 2026 is going to shine. So consider what that is. You've got kind of a Midas touch this year, I would say, and in 2027, about halfway through for sure. So, are you touching someone else's negative situation? You might help it out a lot. Are you touching, your own life or your own finances or your own house? Or are you tending someone else's rental property? Okay. Are you basically presiding over your own life, or are you maintaining someone else's stuff? It would be good to like really get your own flair going on here. It would be nice to allow also more of a glow that operates in mystery, and you don't have to really tell anyone about it. What do I mean? So like having your own formula. Careful about sharing your formula, okay? Look into things like patents, copyrights, such things as that. Because you will have a formula that other people might like to replicate here. So it's good to kind of keep things in their own lane, or to keep things in their own sort of solitude rather than having mass exposure. And if you do have any kind of mass exposure going on in your life, like media campaigns, any kind of like public works or anything, be careful with that, because it could cause a lot of jealousy, and people can also like replicate what you're doing very easily because it's so well done. So you kind of want to have a tact about yourself this year because it's so well flowing. So at the same time, we don't want you guys really like hiding your light or hiding your glow from the world. But I really like working with this in a way that plans out some type of future exposure as well. So this can be a wonderful time to plan for like a future campaign or a future, studio session or something. If you're a musician, like maybe being in the studio right now could be kind of chaotic, but you can begin to plan certain things that have like major mass exposure connotation in the future. Also, what's very likely in 2026 is to have people who don't really see it for you. And this is not like a personal thing. It's not like people don't want to see you succeed. It's not really about you. But 2026 is also very dark for some people. And they can get very like full of complexes when they see a Gemini person so effortlessly growing or doing so well in business, doing so well with their craft, okay? So you want to definitely kind of like be careful with this because it can be like innocent enough, but I can like also see something of like a saboteur kind of energy if you're not careful, and it can be from unexpected people and territories. So it's crazy. It's like even like someone whose success is tied to you or your success, like say you have like a spouse or something, and like the more successful you become, the more successful they become by default. Or maybe you have like a business partner or a partnership with like a platform or something. It's like the better you do, the better they do. And it's like the better they do, the better you do. And like even these kinds of like guaranteed success contact points can get weird. It's like even like the spouse can get like a weird jealousy going on during this time and kind of like not want to see it for you. Even like the platform that you're working with, even though it's benefiting from what you're doing, it like is almost so bored with the prosperity. This is it. It's like a prosperity boredom kind of thing. It's like, the money just keeps coming in. The shows just keep happening every single week. The audience loves it. The money keeps coming in. The shows keep happening every week. The audience loves it. I think we need to like put some kind of plot on top of this that kind of like brings contrast to the whole situation. Like maybe the stage should like catch on fire one night or something, or like with the spouse, like, wow, we just keep getting nicer houses, and it's like we have the most wonderful meals every night, and then we sleep in the most comfortable bed ever. And then like, wow, they come and like clean our house. We have the most beautiful house, and we have the most wonderful meals, and we sleep in the most comfortable bed ever. And they come and clean our house, and we have the most wonderful meals, and we sleep in the most comfortable bed ever. Maybe this is now about downloading a dating app as a spouse. You know, I'm talking about the counter spouse, not like the Gemini. Almost to like just mix it up. Like, so this is like a dark human trait. This is like sociopath mode. So watch out your proximity. When things are so easy like this, with like sextiles and trines and, ooh, wow, sometimes you can get this happening. I actually had this happen in my own life when Pluto was in Capricorn, and I had wonderful sextiles and trines as a Scorpio myself. It was a similar kind of, like Gemini's kind of getting a similar thing that like Scorpios would have gotten back during the triple Capricorn conjunction. And for me, like, just story time for you Geminis. Like that was one of the most incredible, empowering times in my life. You know, my business was doing good. I was growing on YouTube. Even though we were in the pandemic, that kind of like made YouTube grow because everyone was like on YouTube. I was also like really succeeding academically and had like a wonderful living accommodation. And it was like just beautiful. One of the best chapters of my life. And I noticed that situations started to happen in my life where it was like, everyone else, not the person, not me, but everyone else, or not everyone else, but like other people, some other problematic people were like, I think I just kind of want to put some kind of like negative connotation on this situation. Just to like take out the sort of like repetitive positivity. So that's what you want to watch out here for, Geminis. And how can we watch out for that? What can we do? Well, we can know who people are, okay? This is kind of like a deep entrenched trait that a lot of people have, and you know it when they're there, whether this is a family member, whether this is a friend, a spouse, a colleague. You know when someone can't handle good, positive situations for very long, and there has to be something that makes it negative, otherwise they feel empty. So this is like dark triad, this is like narcissism stuff, that you may have a test this year as to like, can you transcend it? So with anything like relationships, friendships, where you recognize that there's any trait in here, it's like, if I start doing too well, this person's going to want to like pull me down a notch because they can't handle it. It's also very common once you do start doing really well that this starts to happen. And like any successful person can tell you, that the better things get, the more this will start to happen. And I suppose it's sort of like physics in a way. But it can definitely be mitigated. And for a Gemini, you guys can actually figure out how to, at least for some time here, sort of like remove this from your life and just have a time of comfort, positive growth, and increase. But what we definitely don't want to do here is we don't want to accidentally or unconsciously contribute to like a negative input like that when it's unnecessary. We also don't want to spend more time than we have to engaging something like that. So that will happen a lot. So like say the relationship goes south with the significant other or the spouse or something. Sometimes we'll spend like years like losing our energy, time, not knowing what to do, losing track, plateauing in other places before like, you know, a real separation happens. Sometimes with any kind of negative input, like it takes a long time to like really recognize what it is and like move away from it. You guys can definitely speed that up here, and you can choose what you engage with your own personal capacity. And I feel like that will be important, but you want to really allow what is joyful and working in your life to be good and to be felt by you. And then you want to turn down engagement with anything that's negative or any kind of like dark, anything that's like sinister, dark. Decrease that as much as you can here to really meet the energy halfway. But moving on. Okay, we've got Cancer in the year of 2026. Okay, hi, Cancer's 2026 year ahead forecast. So yes, I've just gotten some tea as to get through this very long form video that we are in today, soothing my voice a bit. And that's kind of how I feel you all in 2026. Like I feel you're like soothing your voice, you're soothing and maybe turning down output and taking friction off of areas that have perhaps in the past been overused. So I get a few conflicting feelings when I think about you in 2026, when I think about the sign of Cancer. Primarily, I was getting this really nice, kind of balmy, enjoyable, sort of wealthy, resourceful energy, which is obviously because Jupiter is exalted in your sign, transiting your sign for at least half of this calendar year. So that's going to be something that we're going to be talking about in this year ahead to, you know, maybe find some techniques to make sure that we are utilizing that benevolent energy as much as possible. And then on the other hand, you've got the square from Saturn and Neptune and Aries, which could be a bit of a like prodding energy, or something is like kind of like pushing you away from your favor and toward their favor. So I feel this to be a maze pretty much for everybody who is around you, everybody who's like working with you. They are trying to angle toward their benefit, or they are trying to find a way, for example, in like business partnerships or in anything that is collaborative in nature, as there's a likelihood of a multitude of collaborations for Cancer in the 2026 year cycle, really for the rest of this decade, actually. So that's kind of like one of those areas that I feel could be frustrating, yet also beneficial, depending. Is essentially you may be like on top of the situation, or you may be, I don't know, the executive CEO, even like authority figure in some type of institution or in some kind of collaboration. But then like you might see that other people really try to work with that in a beneficial way for them. So it's easy here to be an authority figure who is being pressured to make a certain move with the authority that they have by someone else. Okay, so being put into situations like that, that's very Saturn, Neptune square. One's sun sign, especially in Cancer and Aries, having subordinate pressure, okay? Meaning people who perhaps answer to you, or people who are employed by you, or even like your own like children, or just any kind of hierarchy that is sort of like that. You could kind of like come under pressure and be discouraged by that, but at the same time, it's like nonetheless you are in the top part of this structure, or you are growing in your authority capacity. So it's sort of like the challenges of success, the challenges of growth, the challenges of becoming more relevant in the decision-making process of pretty much everybody in your sphere. Okay, so maybe you started at the bottom of this company and now you are in like an executive position, and you're kind of like getting your bearing in that position. So yeah, there's a change in position, and sometimes what will also happen, as I'm feeling this to be quite new for you with the Saturn and Neptune and Aries, like there's some kind of new authority, some kind of new sort of ascension that you're having in a material sense, Saturn. But it's also got some kind of like meaning for other people with Neptune. It's got some kind of like, like, wow, there's a new person in charge and maybe this will be opportune in a way that like the other person in charge never was. So people will start to try to seek benefits from the fact that you're new in the place that you're in. And then also with the square, I feel that maybe you don't have like a lot of room to say no to certain things, or you may not have like a huge selection pool to sort of stoke competitiveness. So this can be like, having irreplaceable employees, meaning like, because you can't replace your employees, it's more difficult to properly steer them because they know that they're irreplaceable. So they can kind of like be in charge in a sort of like inverse way because of their irreplaceability. So they kind of easy to be like in check by the subordinate or in check by someone else because of their irreplaceability. So like this can also be like partnerships too. Like terrible relationships happening, and because we can't see ourselves like having a replacement, like we just stay in the situation. But at the same time, this means like, okay, we have like the benefits of marriage, or we have like the benefits of being boss of the company, and we do have these employees. So it's kind of like, I don't know, there's something here that just has to kind of move at its own pace. And what I really like for Cancer is absence. Okay, I'm getting the word absence as a solution to this. So too much involvement, too much steering of any one thing kind of like disrupts the chances of your mystique continuing to hold the energy properly. And I do feel that distance and disconnection in some cases from people will benefit you. So this is especially for the time that Jupiter is in Cancer. It's fine, for example, to like lease out your property and book a plane ticket to another country to go on health retreat. So like essentially your property could be like put into someone else's hands. Maybe it's not like the best deal you've ever had. Maybe you have all these concerns about profitability or something, but like at the same time, it like works, it does itself, and you can kind of like step in or out at your convenience, which is a certain kind of like overarching power that I would not underestimate for you. So this is interesting, like greater mobility given to you through collaboration, even if it's not perfect, but like the mobility is granted because the collaboration is there. So like watch out for decollaborating, chaining yourself down to anything, harsh power plays, like for example, firing someone or tearing up a contract, or this is going to be very common for some people during the fire horse year, not wrong for some people. But what I'm feeling for Cancer, especially in the Jupiter in Cancer side of the year ahead, you have to continue cohesion so that you have sort of like mobility. I also feel that coming into the 2026 year cycle, depending on how 2025 was for you and how rested or tired you may feel coming into this year, you may need to go completely back to the drawing board, or you may need to have quite a bit of time away from anything that's grueling, away from any kind of bad habits so that something else exists, meaning deficit financing so that this business continues, eating fast food so that I can get, a job done, any of these kind of like negative compounded situations. It's better to come to like collaborative, integrative sort of deals or connections with people rather than having like the absolute perfect situation. Meaning like, okay, maybe rather than making $1 bazillion renting my house out, I'm going to go ahead and allow a family member to caretake it so that I can go somewhere else for a while, rather than like forcing this house to be like more profitable than it can be and getting nothing or losing all opportunities on it because we're like out of like, we're in like overkill territory, and now I can't leave, and now I feel chained down, and now I have like nobody is really wanting to work with me because there's this sort of feeling that I'm like, you know, stoking things to be kind of overblown or over exasperated with what authority I have over something. So Jupiter in Cancer, I think what I'm trying to really get through here for us all with Cancer placements, it wants easy, cohesive, connective, integrative structures that give us flexible mobility. Look into the joints, look into the fascia in your body. Is it kind of like stove up? Is it not wanting to move well? Is there apprehension in the mind or procrastination in the mind about stretching the body, exercising the body? Look into that, and look into also apprehension to engage certain avenues that just make your life easier, more cohesive, more mobile. Because I feel like there's a little bit of a wall of our own making or abstract confinement between where we currently are as Cancer people and where we very easily could be, which is so much better. So there's essentially Cancers, there's nothing really trapping you in any kind of negative situation. You know, this is kind of like a Jupiter return period of time for you. This is a very benevolent period of time for you. And you can walk out of any chaotic structure and just kind of step into a present linear oriented path that makes your life better at any time during this year. Especially the first half of the year, it's very good for walking out, for booking sabbaticals, for getting out of things to get into things. Okay? Some of you will understand what I mean. Strategic time off, strategic breaks, strategic health missions, okay? And you'll be feeling it also coming into 2026. You'll be feeling this scrambled kind of energy that's here when we're trying too hard on anything, or when we're trying to like kind of access. This was interesting. Like say back in the 2022 year cycle, there was this incredible capacity to like do a billion things at once, to just really like move in such a formidable, powerful way. And we're at an antithesis point to that time. So like this is like the opposite. This is like compounded rest. This is like withdrawing. This is like feeling like waiving the requirement to do certain things, not feeling the need to force or push things so hard. So we're kind of at like the opposite end of the spectrum in a lot of ways. And we're actually kind of stepping more so into kind of like a 2019-ish, 2020 kind of feeling here, where there's sort of like a coat of paint put over all of what was done, and almost like, say you've had like a incredible mural on a wall that's like very visceral and all over the place, and you can imagine just taking like a beige or a white or something and just painting over this wall, okay? Which was something that was happening back then as well. There was a very strong simplification grid back then, and a sort of like return to minimalism. So I'm feeling that kind of coming through here as well. And I'm feeling, it's wonderful for flights. It's wonderful, especially when Uranus gets into Gemini starting in May, wonderful for flights, wonderful for time away, wonderful for abundant living that is sort of integrative and collaborative with other people. And that sort of annoying benefit seeking from every single person on the board. You have the choice as to whether that's something that just like grinds your gears all the time, or whether we can sort of wave it off as kind of like Earth syndrome sometimes, or material world syndrome. This is not really about Earth. This is about humanity. But humanity on this plane is very benefit seeking right now and very like edgy with deal making and stuff. So it's great to have other people helping to get things along for you. Nothing wrong here with like appointing a business manager rather than facing business yourself. Nothing wrong with having like property management or land management rather than doing things yourself, because it's going to be kind of like annoying to go back and forth with people, and really crazy what people will do during this time to, in their mind, like get ahead. So like you, Cancer, can leave the board. You can leave the marriage here. You can leave the dating app. You can leave the country. Okay. And nobody else can do it in the way that you can. And that is the proof of who has the real benefit, who has the real power, regardless of what like the numbers on the pages are looking like or who's profitable in what way. So like people will also, this is interesting, Cancer, long reading for you guys here. People will see this about you in 2026. Like, oh God, that person just like leaves the country whenever they want. They're like here, there, and everywhere. They're not even working. And there's this kind of like very abundant feeling, and you can kind of let it be a mystery. And a lot of this is developed over the 2025 year cycle. It's a kind of consciousness. I'm just drinking some tea, Cancers. Lemon balm. It's a kind of a consciousness that you guys got during the time where we had that kind of hole in the wall frequency. You spent a lot of time learning about economics. You spent a lot of time learning about health of the body. You spent a lot of time learning about manifestation. And now we get to put it to good use, and we get to examine from afar some of these like more gritty things and kind of enjoy more of a balmy, kind of bucolic, happy, wealthy in new ways, very kind of silvery, kind of good tasting, kind of linen, moonlight kind of experience. Okay, Jupiter, absolutely in the most powerful part of the moon sign, emotional healing, emotional expansion, new forms of energy currency, new sources of income, sure. This is a very auspicious, beneficial year, especially the first half of it for you. Now, when Jupiter goes into Leo and we get into the second half of 2026, there are going to be some like alarming things that begin to happen, but it does not have to be bad. What can start to happen when Jupiter gets into Leo, especially if you have a lot of Leo in your chart, as many Cancers do, is you can get like these little like red flags that start, and it can be like, 12 years in this career. Did you imagine that? What's going on? Would we want to be somewhere else? Or do you feel the kind of wavering energy that starts up? It's not bad, but yeah, tough questions will be starting with Jupiter and Leo. It's wonderful, and I've been talking on Patreon about this. Go and check out my Patreon page. The last like 12 Cancer readings for like the last year have been so magical to me. But something we've talked about has been properly deducing your time spent on certain things and understanding also the hold that certain endeavors have over you. Is it real anymore? Is it not? And sort of escaping out of certain frequencies that keep us really stuck in places we don't want to be. So yeah, as we get halfway through the year and moving towards like the third and fourth quarter of the year, it feels happy. It feels like you guys have cracked something incredibly beneficial and groundbreaking throughout the first half of 2026. And then that will have to be applied to kind of a holistic new life practice for you all, as Jupiter and Leo will want you to eliminate all of the disappointments in your life, and it will want you to glow up. It will want you to have new projects. It will want you to have new looks. It will want you to have sort of a crush on yourself, if you can imagine. Not to sound too egotistical, but like if we have any like self-hate or self-dissatisfaction, or we're not happy with the job we're working, we're not happy, that has to be targeted like precision force major, okay, throughout the first half of 2026, because we have to know what would be the best justice for ourselves, and what would make us really be very happy with ourselves. Okay, so on that note, let's go ahead and move on to Leo. That was a long time on Cancer. Speaking of Jupiter and Leo, hi Leos, welcome to your 2026 year ahead forecast. At long last, Sky is here to talk about you and only you in the year of 2026 with some lemon balm tea. One moment. Okay, keeping the voice going, Leos. So, Jupiter is oncoming. Alert, public service announcement. You have, at the time of recording this reading in March 2026, about 4/5 months before Jupiter hits your sign. And I would begin to do certain things for yourself each day that will help you to be happier with yourself. And this can be like small things, seemingly small things with Jupiter and Leo. This can be having a certain aerodynamic quality to the body, having a certain shape and tone that makes you really feel yourself and feel like you can move through space in a way that is sort of feline almost, okay? So what I'm telling you, Leo, is this is a wonderful time to implement a new body regime, like right the second that this video is dropping, if you didn't already, starting in 2025. So that by the time Jupiter goes into your sign, there's like momentum going to have like really nice, healthy, aerodynamic, toned, and just well body. Okay. Body is a lot of what it's about in 2026 for you, Leo. And you're one of the only signs that can crack it in this powerful of a way. Jupiter in Leo is very powerful for abundant, healthy body mechanisms. Okay, what does that mean? That means it's because of what happens in Jupiter in Cancer that it's good. So this means kitchen and gym, doesn't it? This means sometimes kitchen and yard. Okay, maybe there's a certain thing that you're cooking in your kitchen. Maybe there's a certain kind of exercise you're doing in your yard or in the gym. So those are the two most important places for you, Leo. Yes, are we also talking the bank? Yes. Are we talking some kind of business? Yes, but this is where Uranus and Taurus, I feel, has been a chaotic thing for Leo. You might want to listen to Taurus's portion of the reading, especially if you have something there. There's been so much of our impetus put onto these external projects, like my business or my bank account or my relationship, okay? And it's been so externalized, and you know what I'm going to tell you, Leos, is that you got to take some of that energy that's so outside if you're having any problems with like body health, not happy. I'm feeling that there's like in this part of the zodiac, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, I'm getting a not happy, like not happy with what's happened. So we're going to follow that. We're going to figure it out. It means there's too much outside. I've been like drafting all this paperwork. I've been working with like an entire regime of people to try to get my life better. I've been, pinching pennies, counting money, watching videos of people counting their money, trying to stop wasting money. It's all like outside of you. And we're going to have to like pull some of it back. And we were talking about this through 2025. I think a lot of you were really getting a better situation going through 2025. I definitely saw that in summer, especially of 2025, like Leo's really getting a good result going. Yes, that may need to be replicated and doubled down on. Some things have to be dismissed, gotten out of your mind. Yeah, some investments have to be liquidated and put into like your body. Okay, so like rather than investing in that stock company, I'm going to have to like pull this out and like actually put some resources into me. And if it's not money, maybe it's time. Maybe that's really what it is. So yes, maybe I have to work less hours so that I can, put more time into my health and body. And then sometimes I think what people have seen is when they cancel these things out, they also see like, well, I didn't really have the impetus to actually do what I needed to do with the time. And that means we have a deficit. That means we have energetic debt. That means that we're having to make that up. So that could be quite a part of Jupiter in Cancer for a lot of you too. But like Cancer, there's a very kind of silvery, a very gold and silver energy. So maybe this is about precious metals or having like gold and silver experiences like the Olympics or competitive sports. That's very good for Jupiter and Leo. Something that makes exercise and body progress, not just like this repetitive task, but like actually something that you're wanting to do. Okay. Yeah, competitive sports, great. Groups that revolve around activities or some kind of sport. Okay, team sports, really good. And something else that happens here is the growth of not just ego. So yeah, there is a growth of ego, but it doesn't have to just be that. Basically, the creation of identity or persona that can make you like applicable for a platform too. So like my YouTube channel, for example, was started during the last Jupiter in Leo. So yes, you can start a successful social media channel during Jupiter in Leo. You can also have some kind of like status or platform or identity that becomes something you're known for or something that other people resonate with. But that's all tied to this like body growth. It's all tied to an explicit kind of choice to par things down in some territories, okay, and then grow over time later. So I'll tell you guys just from like my personal perspective, before my YouTube channel took off, there was like about 2.5 years of like a very kind of depressed. When I say depressed, I don't mean like mentally, I mean like more like just it was a quieter kind of toned down experience with a lot of like downtime, a lot of emptiness, a lot of vacancy. And there was a lot of like body focus in that time too. And I was like growing athletically as well. And those were like the main points of my life were like athletic growth. And then there was just like a lot of time, you all, and a lot of vacancy, a lot of relationship failure, a lot of, trauma in the life. That was sort of like the combination that then created this YouTube channel. But it was actually, quite a bit of time between the conception of the channel and then before it like actually even did well. So what also is going to happen, Leos, is you have to like trust that time is going to grow it. Like you may have an incredible idea that comes through here and you may even start to bring this to reality, especially in the second half of the year. Okay. You may start the channel. You may sign the contract for the record label. You may sort of start to get yourself out there, like advocating for other people or something. Even like nonprofits. I could see something like that for Leos here too. But it may take, 18, 24 months to like go from conception to like even being accessible by other people, and then like another 12 to 18 months before you're even getting traction. And then it can be like years, like things that are really quality and really have good cohesion. These are like multi-year stories a lot of the time. And you don't want to lose the body edge or the sort of mental endurance as well, the tenacity to get things moving and get things going. You don't want to lose that in the process of failures or in the process of vacancy or losses, okay? And you want to see these things also as the universe like working with you to do something of your own rather than to grow someone else's garden, okay? So watch out for that too here. That can be a problem with Jupiter and Leo because usually, and we'll make a full Jupiter and Leo video, but again, talking more so about the second half of the year, and Jupiter in Leo, once it goes in, you can become so attractive that like so many people want to be with you in a relationship, and it can be easy to select the wrong person because sometimes there's such a pool, or people can like really love bomb you, okay? That would be the concept. That can happen during Jupiter in Leo. So you want to like really be on guard because that can sort of deteriorate some of the more professional goals that you have, as a lot of your time and energy can be taken through love bombing or through what seems like something good in the moment but doesn't really last in the long term. So try to leave that behind. And again, I know we're kind of like all over the timelines here, but while Jupiter is still in Cancer, so first half of 2026, let there be vacancy. Enjoy time just like resting, laying down, icing your neck or back or something if you've got like stress injuries. Sometimes even like playing video games or just kind of allowing stillness, rest, and healing can be a great way to like let the body kind of recover. But then like there also needs to be very visceral exercise or very visceral embodiment elsewhere too. So it's like this is like the ebb and the flow and the contrast, okay, point of contrast in 2026 that creates worlds and creates manifestation. So you do need a little bit of both here, and you cannot just have it one way or the other. Leo, sorry, I've hit the microphone. I apologize. I'm not going to go back and edit it out. Going to have some tea. So we can't just have it one way or the other. I rest all the time, or I exercise all the time, or I work all the time, or I don't work at all anymore. Let it be kind of like this back and forth thing. And feel free, Leos. This is nice. This is a little superpower to look back at 2015 and see what you need to reignite from that time. For example, good exercise regimens, good practices of any kind, maybe certain beauty regimens also from that time could be restarted here. And then see like what you would not restart from that time. I feel like, right, we're talking about cycles of Jupiter. There should be something in that timeline that will come back here for you to grow as a person in a much deeper way. So consider that. Consider also like your personal evolution. Some of you will change careers, okay? Like Jupiter coming like all the way through a sign of your collective first house, right? All the way through the cycle. There's a palpable career shift, or like, okay, I've done my time as, you know, this person, and now I've got to continue on to a different path now. And I can see a lot of Leos feeling like really invigorated through that choice. So there might be preparation needed to enact something like that. We might need to like save money. We might need connections elsewhere. So it sounds like there's a lot of work to do, Leos. And it sounds like in a way that idle hands are the devil's handiwork. And you guys need to kind of start getting your hands into the things that really matter in your life and stop overthinking it. So yeah, let's move on. Virgos in the 2026 year cycle. Okay, Virgos, we have too much South Node wisdom to really be okay with anything in our lives here. It's a little bit funny, but you guys have it figured out. You know the amount of money that you need. You know how your job works. You know how your budget works. You know what foods you should be eating, even if you're not still at this point. But like maybe, no, many of you are. But like, you know, here's what bugs me about you guys. Here's what bugs me about the sign of Virgo. I love you guys, but we know exactly what we need to do, but we're still kind of like being unconscious and impulsive with certain things. Okay, maybe it's not you guys. Maybe you guys have never been unconscious or impulsive about like anything ever in your lives. But like maybe we need to start doing what we know that we need to do. So there's still like time to dig yourself out of this jail. Okay, I don't mean to be crazy with the language of Virgos. But yeah, South Node in Virgo time period was not the time period to get into debt or to sign oppressive contracts or to get ourselves more committed to things than we already were. This was about mobility. This was about growth. You know, Jupiter in Cancer, very kind of like balmy, silvery kind of, I just don't have to really worry about this anymore. My, staff is handling it for me. My lawyers and accountants have resolved it. My, spouse is not going to allow certain people to treat me a certain way. So false kind of understandings of security are going to be like very clear as we're moving into the 2026 year cycle, and you guys are going to have to sometimes just say enough is enough. So I'm feeling, so Cancer, Leo, Virgo section of the zodiac had this like not happy feeling coming into 2026. So I want to figure this out for you all. You may have had too much on your plate. You may have known what to do for everyone else. You know, sometimes you've bailed your family member out of jail. You have healed your spouse's chronic illness. You have created like a business out of helping other people or resolving other people's problems. And you have like the answers, like, you know what to do. But like, where is this focus for you? Like, where are you getting your chronic illness resolved? Where are you getting like yourself out of debt? Okay. Where is your retirement? Where is your throne? Okay. Regulus and Virgo. Do we really want to spend all of our resources making a throne for someone else? Okay. Or would we like to have more authority in our own lives? So there's sort of like an authority sliding scale that I'm feeling for you in the year of 2026. The Aries, Saturn, and Neptune situation is going to have a little bit of an obnoxious flair for Virgos. And, you know, we can't like coffee our way out of it. We can't like, you know, sometimes you can't put sugar on such a rough situation and make it better. You know, it's kind of like, wow, this rock is really sharp to my bare feet. I'm going to pour a lot of sugar all over it and this is going to like smooth it out. Or, you know, this food just tastes absolutely awful. I'm going to run myself a hot bath and hope that sitting in the hot bath will like make this awful tasting food more palatable for me. So sometimes we have things that like are generally helpful, okay, and they're not like really the right thing here. So yes, $500 face moisturizer might be good for your skin, but it's not addressing the endocrine problem causing acne, for example. So we have to be very precise with what we do, and I think that you guys have simplified things down in such a powerful way. You know, we were talking about how South Node in Virgo had created the sort of like beans and rice experience, you know, roots and stems. This was something that we were really figuring out on Patreon over the previous 2025 year cycle. And some Virgos have not like quite implemented that all the way, or they've been kind of like stuck in a planning loop. So you want to know if you're in any kind of like planning spiral, or if you maybe should just step into the present moment and like make some crazy, awesome power moves right now. These rocks are too hard on my feet. Here's a wonderful pair of like hiking shoes. This food tastes awful. It's straight into the trash, and I've returned from the market with incredible foods, and we're working on it in the kitchen. So like, we need in 2026 to know that we're making choices that address problems in the most direct, precise way. I think there's a definite question of comfort versus delayed gratification also for you guys in 2026. Would you like to delay your gratification a little bit more? Or would you like to go ahead and just let your life be fuller and more active in the present now? You guys will have a new zeal. Also in 2026, you will have something, speaking of the positive for your sign, in 2026, you are going to have some kind of new opportunity put in front of you that is going to really boost your abundance. Okay, so you can be given property here. You can be given gifts of money. You can be given also, like, you can be given the microphone here as well. Okay, so like you could become like pastor of a church, or you could become some kind of like political presence or something. So like you have all of these very powerful elements, and you also like know exactly what to do. So I'm kind of like wondering like where's the not happy thing coming from? Because really you have it's kind of like the magician card in the tarot. You've got like all the elements kind of in your favor. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's like really probably more solid than any other sign in the zodiac coming into this year at least. So what's missing? What's missing? And why is that the focus, and why? So like wavering kind of energy. You may have to try something you've never tried before. You may have to inject some spontaneity with all this fire, right? Especially in the second half of the year. Saturn, Neptune in Aries, Jupiter in Leo. This is a lot of fire for Virgo energy. So it's going to require a bit of adaptation. And what I like this kind of energy for, actually, for you guys will be some kind of like cultural expansion. So it's nice maybe here, if you're single, to date someone who can introduce you to ways of life that you've never known before. Something here has got to like come in that you're not familiar with. Something has got to be put in front of you that is like kind of like a new territory to conquer, a new territory to work with, rather than being constantly mulling the previous or constantly, because you've got all that figured out. Like, here's the thing, Virgo, you've got the previous stuff figured out. You've got a lot of elements of your life, like really, like this works, this is fine, it's on the right trajectory, and now you have to let time kind of work that out. So here you might need to take up something new, like learning a new language, experiencing some kind of like fresh territory. Okay, going somewhere you've never been before. I'm liking that. I'm liking, like I was feeling this for Cancer and Leo as well, like flying, going around, being more nomadic, having different experiences. But this has to be like not really experienced in the way that I'm saying it. So I'm like saying this and it feels kind of like, oh, I know all about traveling, or, oh, you know, okay, where is the best place to go, and which retreat area am I going, and like I'm going to find, like, this is sort of a Virgo way of thinking about it, like deciphering which is the best place, and picking out certain new experiences, and essentially taking the spontaneity out of it and planning, which will not do what needs done here. So something has to be spontaneous, Virgos, in somewhat of a controlled way, like very minor, like you don't want to go crazy. But yeah, I feel like you of all signs have sort of a backlog of energy reserved to experience new things. But I hope you enjoyed that reading. Let's move on to Libra. Okay, Libras, welcome in. Libras, let's talk about you all for 2026. So one of the most activated signs of the zodiac, no doubt, with Saturn and Neptune opposing you. There is a new story, okay? And it's a powerful story. And I feel you guys sort of like almost like you've been incubating over these last few years, and there is a birth into a totally new, powerful, in some senses fantastical feeling story. And yes, there's a lot of opposition in this story, as you can imagine, with these major oppositions of Saturn and Neptune that you're having. Also the T-square to Jupiter in Cancer for the first half of the year as well. It's a very cardinal year for you, meaning we are talking progress. We are talking linear, powerful, fast-paced movement. This is a wonderful year for you all to build a business. This is a wonderful year, even more so for you to finally embark or engage some type of larger story. This is kind of hard to explain, but I've found a lot of people have been kind of like harboring over these last few years, or they've been kind of like in a hermit archetype, or they've been kind of withdrawn or pulled within. And you'll see in the 2026 year cycle, especially as we get towards the second half of it, when Jupiter goes into Leo, you will see that you have to get out of the house more, or you have to engage things in a more sort of like potent way. There is a different way that Libras are looking at the world, definitely a different way that you're looking at housing, okay, with the T-square from Jupiter and then Saturn and Neptune. There's a reinvented way, I think, that you're working with your house or your living accommodation. There's a likelihood of more travel. There's a likelihood of just a totally different paradigm of living. And this is nice. So if you've had a lifestyle that you've been living that is like one side of the coin, or one predictable method of, navigating life, you can like switch this over now to the other side of this coin. So for some of you, rather than working a salaried job, you may have your own business now, or you may be able to retire, or perhaps you're leaning into some type of other resource that really changes the way that you're moving through your day and changes the way that you are connecting to other people throughout your day. Also, there's a likelihood of some type of ultimate cause goal, okay, with Neptune and Saturn together opposing you. There can be a feeling of, I never knew what I wanted to achieve in this life, and now through a certain catalyst event or through a certain change that I've had in my life, I'm now less inhibited and more aware of what I need to do. So like on one hand, you're more aware of the goal, and on the other hand, you're less inhibited to achieve the goal. So things can really come together for you in a way that you're not accustomed to, Libra. And this is kind of like interesting to me for you all, especially with Uranus moving into trine. A Libra, especially if you have an early degree Libra sun, there will be this feeling of like, wow, I don't have the same limitations that I used to have anymore. I don't have the same confinement. I don't have the same restriction on my life. And I have a lot more support and a lot more awareness of what I need to do, a lot less inhibition. And this can create, with this Jupiter T-square from Cancer for the first half of the year, this feeling of like, why can't I take the leap? Why can't I move into action? All of this is totally possible. Like, I'm not out of the realm of possibility with the dreaming that I'm doing. Like, I have a very achievable goal in front of me. And I now have a lot more resources to achieve it. I have a lot more support from other people. Why can't I engage it? Or why am I still holding back? So this will be a question that you are answering over 2026. Why not go for the big thing? Why not get out of your comfort zone? So this is where we get into trauma bonding and trauma responses. I need padded realities around me. I need predictable circumstances. I need people in my life that I can control. I need budgets that remind me of something that I'm already aware of, essentially a lifestyle that is familiar to me. But that's not going to be plausible here, you all. With Saturn and Neptune and Aries for everybody, especially a Libra with the opposition, the familiar comfort zone situation is not the formula and won't feel good. Okay, so like sometimes we think that we want it, especially when we're in difficult life chapters. Like, I just want to have my own house in the woods, and I want to just comfortably lay in that and go through a sort of predictable, conformist or replicable, okay, a lifestyle that I can replicate or do over and over again. And then sometimes when we actually give that to ourselves, we feel like a jarring kind of hopelessness in that once it actually comes true, because there's no unpredictable generation happening at the quantum level. So it's like we have mastered, quote unquote, our reality. It's not really the right word to use, but we might think of it that way. Like, I have control of my reality. I have control of my finances. I have control of my household, and I choose what I do every day. Well, there's no real connecting with chance, or there's no real integration into something that we don't have control of. Therefore, there's no real quantum element. Maybe that's not the right way to put it. There's no real unexpected gain. There's no real chance element in the lifestyle. So that's what I would not recommend for you all here, Libras. It's a balance, obviously, as your sign knows, but there will need to be a little bit of risk factor. There will need to be a little bit of chance taken. Otherwise, it's going to feel like jarring and empty and kind of like vacant in a way, like a shell of an experience with the Jupiter T-square from Cancer in the first half of the year. So notice that in the first half of the year, Libras, experiences that have a shell element to them, like there's no essence to this, there's no potency to this experience. It's like a shell, okay? Jobs that we work just to make a paycheck that have no essence anymore, things that have died, okay? Houses that can no longer accommodate us. This is very much like vacant houses, okay? So say you own like a vacant house or something that you don't live in, and it's like you still have to pay to upkeep it, or you still have it in your psyche, but like you don't want to be there, or you don't really see yourself in it, but you don't want to let it go. So it sort of creates this shell kind of experience. This is also what false sense of security can do. So having a lot of money saved in your bank account, yet still not doing what feels essential to you as a person. So like, I have this shell feeling of security, but I'm still not confident enough to really move on the things that mean something to me. It won't work this year, especially when Uranus gets into Gemini. That's a very kind of Uranus and Taurus combined with Jupiter and Cancer, Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. We have these like shell kind of securities. Things look different on the outside than they are on the inside. Poetic meanings, abstract confinements, and all of that will be something that a lot of us get out of here. And there's kind of like a mad dash, or in some cases just like the most meaningful story ever, as we begin to engage a path, okay, like a real path, a path Libras. Not just a harboring or a withdrawing, but like a path. And I feel like this is something that the sign of Libra in 2026, by the second half of the year, okay, forgets how much it loves to be on a path that it doesn't necessarily have all the answers as to how it's going to go, or it can't like pre-control or predetermine, you know, what's going to happen on this path. Like it just embarks it and it goes through a sort of, I don't know, you could call it kind of like a Final Fantasy kind of almost, you know, empowering kind of faith-based / you know, enticing kind of storytelling mechanic that your life can really begin to take on here in a new and empowering way. So some of you understand what I mean, but basically it's kind of hard to explain, but the feeling is what will give it to you. This is a great time for new territories, Libra. This is a great time for some of you also, in the first half of the year, to give yourself the secure kind of replicated, regulated lifestyle so that you know what that is. And you can choose like, okay, I've lived lives where there's more like chance and sort of less predictability. And then I've also lived very secure lifestyles, and I can put these side by side and sort of merge or consolidate this. Maybe I have a stable house to fall back on, and then maybe I also have, you know, other lifestyle in other places and other paths that I'm embarking. Okay, so having like balanced ways that you're addressing both sides of this. And ultimately, Libras, for the 2026 year cycle, I think that there is a major door opening for you. I think that you have also a lot more resources and capacity than you kind of let yourself understand or believe. And I see you guys by 2027 over a lot of the previous things that you were satiated with. So you achieve it. You achieve a certain level of security or a certain level of risk as well, and you will definitely expose yourself to different ways of thinking, different kind of psychic experiences. And it's possible also to have people come into your life in 2026 that really change your belief systems and change the way that you view the world. So that will need to be something that you're cognizant of throughout this year, that like world beliefs could be changing or viewpoints may need to be adapted so that these relationships or so that these people that you meet don't become chaotic because you're too entrenched in your belief system to do the adapting that the universe is trying to lead you to do. So it's like that's going to be kind of the axis or the scale of like whether the relationships that come into your life this year are felt by you to be nice or difficult will be how much you're willing to adapt your mindsets. Entrenched, non-wavering mindsets will lead to difficult relationships this year. Responsible, adaptable, yet discerning mindsets as it relates to worldview will lead to very wonderful new relationships. So it's like all about you and how you're thinking about things completely. And then yes, your risk aversion. But it's very different, Libras. It's very different. You've got to kind of get into it and just kind of work with the energy and pray through it, I feel, for this year. So let's move on. Scorpio in the year of 2026. Welcome, Scorpios. I'm just writing down your timestamp. Okay. So, Scorpio, 2026. It's a lot about reconciling, processing, and collecting on the previous 7 or 8 years. Okay, Uranus being on your axis since 2018 and leaving your axis in April of 2026. That's a lot to kind of account for and a lot to organize. Okay, so there's a lot of chaos perhaps from the last 6 or 7 years, 8 years even, and you will need to organize all of this stuff. You will need to probably get rid of some stuff or acquire new things. It's kind of like rebalancing the balance sheet of your life in both physical and psychological, mental ways. Okay, all of the above. So this is processing, and it's best to get as much of this done as you can while Jupiter is still in Cancer, because once Jupiter goes into Leo in the summer of 2026, I feel that as much more personalized for you. So you don't have to rush in 2026, but you will notice that a lot is being asked of you in new territories, right? With Saturn and Neptune and Aries in your fellow Mars-ruled sign of Aries. I've talked on Patreon a little bit about this, how this affects Scorpio in the recent monthly readings. Check that out, linked below in the description box, if you want more premium content and to get the monthly and weekly readings. We've talked a lot about that over there already. The overwhelming feeling in the beginning is not going to be as chaotic as it is for other signs, so you may seem like a secure refuge compared to other people. You may seem like you have your life together in ways that other people do not. Because of this, you will be given new positions of power as a certain status quo emulator, which is going to be strange for Scorpio in 2026. So you are kind of like the status quo, okay, especially with this time of the death archetype that we've been in 2025, with having had all of that aneretic energy of Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and then even Pluto back in the earlier 2020s. So Scorpio is really the power sign of this general time, and then also having Saturn and Neptune in fellow Mars-ruled signs. Even though it's a quincunx to you, it is familiar, and there's an innate understanding of navigating the Aries energy. What will not work, Scorpio, which is why I'm telling you to go ahead and process the previous year's stuff as soon as possible. What will not work, especially as we get further into this year and into the next few years, will be being hung up on the past. Okay, hung up on what happened before. You will see that there's vacancy, sort of dead weight energy, debris. I just spoke about that in Libra's reading. There's a similarity there between Libra and Scorpio, and this section of the zodiac, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, has this in common of having these preconceived, predetermined ideas about what they want their life to be, achieving that, existing within that, and this feeling kind of like a vacant, kind of eroded out, just sort of sedentary, energetic feeling. So there is a need for new experiences, Scorpio, new locations. There is a need for branching out, yes, to new industries, to new studies, to new relationship types or people. And there's a major focus on reforming or reforging your internal fascia. This at both a body and a business level. Okay, so restructuring of business, restructuring of your body. It's a great year for body progress for Scorpios. It's a wonderful year for working out any kind of fascia damage. I also feel this at a psychic level as well. So this is a great year for trauma healing. This is a great year for getting the gunk out of the system. Okay. This can also be boring and weird to go through. So this may be a year where you need to have the ductwork of your house cleaned out, or new plumbing. Something could be run down in a systemic level in your house. Also the same with the body. So this could be detoxing the digestive system. This can be detoxes of any kind for the sort of unseen systems that you will need to be functioning really well to really feel, to feel how you need to move on the oncoming years after this year. Because you have a lot of power, and you may not understand the type of power really that you have until systems in your life are functioning well. Sometimes the human consciousness can be very material in the sense where it's if something is messed up with your body, so you've got a knot in your back or something, or say the plumbing system is not working in your house right. These types of things can really distract us and down-regulate our mood to where we're not in a vibrational territory that we can really work with potential, right? So certain baseline economic issues of your life and health issues really have to be worked with sensitively and not in an overstimulated or depressed way. So there is a lot of balance required for you to work with the baseline levels of your life to begin reforming your sort of expanse of possibility and to work with that better. There's also this axis of healing and destruction, I feel, in your life, as you might be very cognizant of the fact here that in order to heal certain things, other things have to be destroyed or eliminated in your life. That's a very powerful thing with Saturn and Neptune and Aries, and this also being like a time of conflict and war as well. So that process of elimination is highlighted for you, and the way that you go about that as a kind of like general over your own life will be the difference, and the sort of profit or loss margin at both the physical and energetic level will be determined by how you make decisions along those lines. So this is from a level of budget, this is from health, this is from what you hold in your life, what is in your house, what is in your cupboards and pantry, what is in your accounts, what is in your body as well. Okay. So what's being stored, what's being held, and then what's being like eliminated, have, and then reduce. Okay. So any type of hoarding here is not possible, but then also you can't like overly deplete your holdings either. So it's like a new philosophy on balanced holdings that will be essential for you in this year ahead. There are also never again scenarios, okay, I have written down for you for 2026. So there are certain things that you just will not ever embark again. I also feel that there are things that Scorpio wants out of. Okay, that's interesting. I'm just getting that as a psychic download right now. And maybe you weren't really able to liberate yourself fully or disconnect fully from certain things that you do not want in your life in 2025. So this could be like states of health. Okay, I do not want this chronic illness. I don't want this like extra weight on me, or I don't want these dense situations. This could also be like, I do not like being in this industry anymore. I can't like do this. So this is creating frustration, and then this like kind of boosts that impulse for elimination and destruction. So this is also volatile for some Scorpios. I don't want to be in this. I'm frustrated for being in this. And then like, instead of finding a solution for that, I might like, I don't know, have a temper tantrum or something in the house, rather than channeling the energy in a productive way. So that will make things worse, and that will sort of create these pipelines where it's like, now I have like a habit of temper tantrums, or now I have, a job that I don't like, and relationship damage in my life because of like temper tantrums. And then it's like the fire just spreads. And one of the most powerful ways to think about this year is it's a very fiery year. It's a year of the fire element. Not only are Saturn and Neptune in Aries, not only will Jupiter be going into Leo, but we have a fire horse also. And then in 2027, we have a fire goat. So we are in fire, fire, fire. This is how humans work with anger. This is how humans work with the process of destruction and elimination. This is how also we get inspiration, and we take chances, and we take risks to better our lives. The way I feel it for you in 2026 is this is like small fire. This is like spark, Phoenixian spark. And your superpower here is how that sort of grows over time. So it's like this small surplus, this small inspiration, this small fire, to most people doesn't seem that significant in this moment, but they turn away for a little while, and all of a sudden you've advanced all the way to like across the world, and the fire is like huge, and it's like engulfing so much. So we're talking sort of this as a metaphor for like the energy that you have and the success that you can have. Don't look for it to be more than it can be right now. Have confidence in your small surpluses, have confidence in your small victories, and try to sustain that so that before you know it, it's like across the finish line. So to put this in more tangible terms, Scorpio, is retirement possible right now for a lot of you, or for anybody? No. But through maintaining a surplus, or through maintaining your inspiration, it will be traveling over time to where it needs to be, but you have to maintain it. And you, through like temper tantrums, or through misplaced energy, or through doing something that's not right for you, that's not sustaining the type of fire that you need to be sustaining. So take that into account. What like really has to be sustained here. And then try to apply process of elimination to the things that sort of divert you off from that which needs to be sustained. Okay, Sagittarius, 2026 year ahead forecast. Let's talk about Sag. This would be good for Scorpios too, but yeah, let's get into Sagittarius for this year ahead. Okay, hi Sagittarius, welcome to your 2026 year ahead forecast. Let's talk about you guys. So, yeah, what I'm feeling is a lot of inspiration. I'm feeling like you're more supported than you realize. We have a wonderful fire expansion happening in the year of 2026. So the first half of the year, with Jupiter still in Cancer and still having Saturn and Neptune very much on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, this could feel kind of like a wet blanket, or this may have certain elements of like flatline, or feeling kind of like you're having to come to terms or come to grips with a difficult situation. But through that experience, you're going to really clarify a lot. Okay, so this is a major clarification year for you all. What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do with my day? What do I want my money to go toward? What do I want my new 10-year goal to be based on what happened in 2025? So this is all very good, and you might notice that a lot of the fluff in your life, or a lot of the distraction mechanisms like addictive tendencies, escapism, this is all going to be super challenging, and it's good right at the get-go with this year to go ahead and release any of that stuff and just let the flatline happen now. Because it's very important that you maintain sensitivity, okay? As this is a clarification year for you, if you're struggling to be sensitive enough to understand deep down past all of the sort of layers of advertising, layers of trauma, layers of anti-purpose, whatever it is, beneath all of that, to understand what you actually need as a person, what actually inspires you, what is a lifestyle that is right for you, to clarify all of that, you have to be sensitive enough to really feel it out and to go through it with the needed sensitivity. And I've already noticed for Sagittarius coming out of the 2025 year cycle that there's kind of something that's trying to connect, like something that you're trying to experience fully, but it could be kind of detoured or separated from the true level of meaning it's meant to encompass in your life, because you're drained, because you're burned out, because your health is like kind of shaky, or you've had kind of down-regulating experiences, meaning that your frequency has kind of like been hit or miss because of difficulties or because of life challenges. This year of 2026, especially the April through about July portion, doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It doesn't have to be wonderful. It doesn't have to, you don't have to like really be getting the zest from life that you feel for yourself for a specific reason. So like this is feeling to me kind of like when people accept harsh circumstances temporarily, okay, with some type of aim in mind. By not spending money now, I will have the ticket later to what I want to do. But it's important to know what that ticket is. There could be kind of like a frazzled or fragile kind of dream mechanism. So it's like, I think I want that goal, or do I want that goal? And if that's kind of like fragile or overly fluid, you might find like, well, since I don't really know what I want, it's hard to really delay gratification for this kind of intangible sort of wishy-washy idea. So wishy-washy ideas are something that 2026 is going to deal with. Again, clarification year. So it's very good to do like career research here. If you want a different career, talk to someone who's had that career. Understand what it really is. We don't want to have an illusion of what something is on the outside. A lot of people, for example, who go into like art type careers, so like singer, songwriter, actors, even like social media personalities, they have like an idea of what it might mean to be that. And then once they actually get into the industry, it can be kind of shell-shocking to see what the sausage factory is behind it. And they're like, oh, this is not what I wanted. So it's good to understand the sausage factory as much as you can. A lot of the time it takes kind of getting into it before you can really understand it. But this is where, again, like consulting with someone who has done it could be a wonderful thing for you all. Try to read memoirs perhaps of people who have retired from the career that you want. Try also to, if you can, like talk to people who are halfway through that career, so they've spent like 10 or 15 years in that career already, get their perspectives on what they like and don't like about it. So yes, all of this like research is really good to do here. Also kind of like the sign of Scorpio, there may be a need to really process and organize what has happened over the last few years so that you're not kind of weighed down or under something heavy that you don't understand. You may need to offload certain things or sell certain things in your life so that you're no longer caught in them. I'm feeling you getting out from under certain things. I'm feeling you get a lot more mobility, but it will also have to be in a very balanced way with the Saturn trine beginning to come through. Whenever we have a trine from Saturn, it means that we have to let go of some things, but also bolster other things. So you can't just do like a one-size-fits-all solution, like I'm going to sell everything and just cash out my life, or I'm going to just desperately cling on to everything and never let go. All of these dramatic, theatrical, or extreme options will not be indicated for you. So take a look at anything extreme that you have like on your plate and understand how this balance sheet could be adjusted, or how these routines could be adjusted to be less extreme. So anything that's like extreme diet, extreme addiction, extreme spending, extreme saving, will all have to be balanced with the trine from Saturn. And then there is also the trine from Neptune as well, which will give you a very nice spiritual zeal to this time. You might have thought that the last few years had a spiritual nature, but it will be nothing compared to the next, 15 years of Neptune and Aries, because you had the square from Neptune and Pisces since about, 2011, 2012. So that would have led to a sort of conflictual spiritual meaning extraction in your life, where you would have been like, well, this feels very good to me, but there's something about it that contradicts who I am. So like there's a lot of identity crisis coming to conclusion for you all as you guys start to like get to know yourself better. Again, clarification year. So try to like make yourself happy too, but just because there is a challenging circumstance doesn't mean it has to be an unhappy one. You guys are sitting on a lot of capacity. You guys are sitting on a lot of really smart boundary understanding, a lot of really smart resource allocation. And most people don't understand what you're really even sitting on, or what you're really holding. And that's where also nobody's going to really understand you until you can kind of get a better intimacy forged in your life. So some of you may need to make closer relationships so that you can be understood by people. But you may also not see that they're willing to understand you. So this is kind of like a misunderstanding that I feel you're coming out of 2025 with. And also a lack of cooperation in some cases, a lack of willingness to resolve problems. So that's frustrating. And you as a sort of problem solver or resolutionist, I want to call you, in 2026, there may be some difficult conversations. There may be some difficult letters. There may be no way also to question your authority over certain things either. So you may have certain people corresponding with you, writing to you, telling you certain things that sort of contradict your ideas or contradict the conclusions you've come to, but that, interestingly, may not really matter. So this is kind of like holding some type of power that is not sort of consensual. Interesting. So this is kind of like tyranny or dictatorship, where people may not be happy with you. People may not really want it for you, but they can't really change the fact that you're in this path. So your path is yours. Your journey is yours. Simultaneously, people also know that nobody else can do what you're doing. So like this is a weird dynamic, Sagittarius, So like people are kind of upset that you're the one who has certain authorities or you're the one who is on this path. But at the same time, they can't help but really support you because they know that you are right for it, but they're not exactly happy that you're in it either. So there's this kind of like back and forth frequency. And this will also kind of like ripple perhaps into your relationships, especially long running relationships, where people kind of just know that you have made the right decision, or people know like, okay, this is the sagely person and they're correct, they're right, they've done things the only way that things could be done. But I'm just like so frustrated with them because in a way it's so inhumane and they're so kind of above or outside of, more like outside of what I consider to be a common human experience. So like you can have kind of like a dehumanizing experience. Yes, did you know that to be in such a powerful story, it can come off as fictitious to other people. It can come off as unordinary or strange. And then it can also cause like jealousy, envy. Hopefully a lot of that is behind you all. But at the very least, it can definitely create a bit of a schism or a bit of a boundary between you and like the people down there. Okay, so this is kind of like being in a very tall building, maybe above like a public marketplace, and you can like see all these people moving down there, but you're not like engaged in that. And like, thank God, you know, but like at the same time, it feels kind of like separatist or dehumanizing. So it's kind of like stonewalling. There's kind of like a stonewalling mechanism happening in your life. And there are a lot of difficult questions I feel that you have to answer this year about how you immerse yourself with other people, how you connect, how you exit certain things as well. Will need to be something that you have somewhat of a grasp on. And there's a definite channeling of favor on your life that I feel that sort of channels like the more favor you get, the more higher powers like intervening in your life, the more you grow, the more that you face the like totality of your potential destiny, the less some people can exist in your frequency. So it sort of clears the path, essentially, the more that you become aware and conscious of your destiny, okay? So if you have a lot of clearing around you, if you feel like you can't connect with people, it means there's some kind of very powerful gravitational force that is working in your life. And many of you will have to follow that in order to clear or move through the path. To move through the path that has been cleared. You don't want to, this is so good, Sagittarius, you don't want to get stuck or stagnate in the clearing. Okay, the clearing is happening so that you can move and that you can progress toward a certain point. The clearing is not happening for you to like kind of cower down or harbor within the clearing. So like if you're having a clearing in your life, or if you're feeling like people are not present, are not connecting with you, are not able to maintain space in your experience, it means there's some kind of point you're meant to be moving toward. You have to determine what that is. That's going to be different for all of you. And you have to also determine whether you consent to that or not. Some of these goals are so large and so meaningful with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction trine you that they're hard almost to commit to, and they're hard to fathom that they were like sort of put onto your path. But yes, 2026, year of clarification, year of engagement. You have decisions to make. So thank you, Sag. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Let's move on to Capricorn in 2026. Okay, hi Capricorns. Welcome to 2026. So let's talk about it for you. It's not bad. It's better than a lot of the energies you've faced over this decade so far. Yes, you do have the T-square between the Jupiter in Cancer as well as Saturn and Neptune in having moved into Aries. I don't think that it has to be difficult. I don't think that you have to participate with anybody who's going through a super difficult situation. And you might kind of look into what your sort of locus of participation is. As people may look to you as some kind of safe harbor, it's easy in this year to have family members want to come to live with you if they're going through a difficult circumstance. It's easy to have people requesting your assistance in some way. And you'll have to be very decisive when you think about taking on other people's burdens, as I do feel that to be one of the main challenges of 2026, especially coming out of 2025. Maybe you've already been facing that a little bit, considering what other people's burdens are and whether you can, take those on or not. There are a lot of soothing elements of this year, though, as well, especially in the first half. There are great healing opportunities. There are great possibilities for therapy, for expansion through some type of transitional phase you've been through over the last year. But I do feel that there is a hesitation kind of operating in the Capricorn energy line, and a bit of a difficulty with coming to terms with how things have changed since the time that Pluto was in your sign, and now that it has fully moved out of your sign. You're kind of maybe looking back to the last 10 or 15 years and trying to maybe recreate what worked then, and saying that there's a little bit of a dead weight there, or a little bit of a mechanic that won't really work in this paradigm with Pluto and Aquarius. So what I feel is good for Capricorn in 2026 is a pulling back, a paring down, perhaps making things less overwhelming for yourself. If you have anything in your life that's too monolithic or too looming, you may want to minimize that. Any type of overworking, any type of overexertion may need to be minimized. You may need more time to yourself. And you also may need to utilize some of the resources that you've worked so hard to gain rather than continuously seeking more. Look into anything that is like insatiability, constant hunger, feeling hungry all the time, feeling like there's something you need to buy all the time, feeling like there's some type of ground you need to gain all the time. You could have something that needs to kind of hit the pause button on some of these choices that you've been making over the last few years. So how do you feel about some of the choices over the last few years? For most Capricorns, it's kind of like a mixed bag. Some of them are wonderful. I think that you've made some genius decisions. I think that you've cut quite a few things out of your life as well that is very astute and very smart to cut out. But I also think that with all of this rapid sequence decision making that's been on your plate, especially as Pluto went through the anaretic part of your sign, that is going to inevitably have also led to some decisions that were not right. So it's good to have kind of an accounting coming into 2026. This was right, this was not, this should have been spent, this should not have been spent, this had to be purchased, this maybe shouldn't have been purchased. And now, yes, 2026 is, kind of for Sagittarius, a clarification year for you, where you're also kind of rebalancing and reorganizing. Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn section of the zodiac. It's we've got this entire picture, this entire map, this entire balance sheet in front of us. Some of it's good and some of it's not good. Okay. And sometimes what can be hard is there can be a mishmash, or there can be a bleeding over effect. It's wow, I have this awesome accomplishment in my life. I have this awesome relationship. I have these wonderful earnings. And that dopamine hit, or that sense of accomplishment, can kind of blind us to the parts that should not be here at all. So it can also go the other way. So this is optimism versus pessimism. It can be this one mistake that I made, or this one dysfunctional element is throwing a kink into the entire system. Or you can also be kind of blind to what's good in your life because one thing is not functioning properly, or just having a thyroid being out can mess up the entire body. Okay, even if the rest of the body inherently is fine, just that thyroid being out can throw the whole system into problems. So at the same time, that one sugary drink or that one caffeinated beverage can kind of totally stimulate the entire system, even though it's burned out, or it's really depressed or something. So you have to think about these factors, stimulating or depressing factors of your life, keeping, releasing, holding versus selling, That will be mostly what this year is about, with this big change in outer planets, like every single outer planet changing, obviously. It's a shift in the balance sheet. It's a shift in the overall holdings. And it takes a very pragmatic, balanced, sober decision-making process to understand what's going on here, which is really what Capricorn is known for and is part of how that sign operates. I would definitely look at sentimentality, and I would look at anything that is like too grasping or holding on to things pridefully or too long, like from a sense of pride or from a sense of even some kind of like ethereal kind of inchoate reasoning as to why I continue a job that I can't stand, or as to why I have this like rundown ancestral context that I can't really change, but I also can't relinquish, chaotic neutral kind of situations. This, in some ways this is good, in some ways this is bad. You'll definitely want to exert the appropriate sentimentality. You'll want to understand the element of nostalgia versus the maybe economical, realistic element. And through that, you'll have to sort of come to an overall decision about the shifts that you are undertaking. And I don't feel that it's particularly an easy year, okay? But I also feel that 2027 and beyond are absolutely at another stratosphere for you in a positive way, because of what you have to deal with here. And also because of the way maybe that you... the way that you restructure your consciousness, or the way that you kind of come down to a more even tone, or the way that you clarify and perfect your holdings, where not only are you on a solid foundation, but you are maybe at a level of your own, or you've really honed a sophisticated and brilliant kind of capacity. So, pressure makes diamonds, all of that kind of cliche stuff. This is one of those kinds of years. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Aquarius. Okay, beautiful, stunning, exhilarating, really, really emotive, just stunning energy. I think that you might be my favorite sign this year, Aquarius. Welcome to your 2026 year ahead. So let's talk about what's going on here. So we have Uranus moving into Gemini, making a trine to you. We have Pluto getting very well established into your sign. We have Saturn and Neptune sextiling you. And it's all kind of brought to a certain like Yahtzee level by the second half of the year, when Jupiter goes into Leo and opposes you. So this is your year. You're kind of like a pearl in the oyster kind of vibe this year, Aquarius. And you will have a lot going on at once. Okay, quite a confluence of major events happening in your life. So energy is needed. Okay, it's not one of those years that you can coast. It's not one of those years that you can let someone else do all the decision making. It's not one of the years where you need someone else counting your money, or someone else dictating your schedule, or someone else sort of sucking up the energy that you have to give. So really, at the beginning of the year, try to step into your own Plutonian power and recognize what is taking too much energy from you. Is it an employer? Is it a relationship that doesn't need to be there anymore? Is it unnecessary bills? Okay, something, I feel whenever Pluto goes into your sign, it's like some kind of gravitational force may sort of coalesce and be kind of expensive or draining to have in your life. What is that for you? And is it really worth it to go through? Sometimes it is, sometimes... I don't know, law school is very hard to go through, but what is on the other side of it is a different kind of status orientation or capacity in the future, so maybe it's worth it. You would want to have an idea in 2026 as to like what the precise offering of any path is, and you might want to go ahead and eliminate certain things that you might have been on for a long time, or pathways that have been over engaged or done over and over again, may need to be moved past once and for all here. There's a very strong once and for all feeling. And there is just a masterful way that you are cultivating engagement and connection with the world around you. So I feel like you guys need to get out of the house more. I feel like you need maybe to be in new territories, and you need a more natural, kind of intuitive way of engaging paths, engaging new locations, engaging anything. Also, I suppose engagements like likelihood of marriage or likelihood of taking a relationship to the next level. I'm definitely getting that keyword of engagement for you, as that's also a very strong keyword for the overall 2026 year cycle. I'm getting escalation for you, and I'm getting that there's this kind of like all-day escalation vibe, meaning that certain negative buildups will really start to dominate our time if we're not able to properly scale, that's the right way to put it, scale certain things. So this is about having Pluto in your sign. This is about new age of Aquarius kind of vibe coming up here. Pay attention to what is dominating your mind space, okay, what you're thinking about frequently. Also, this is so interesting, like what's filling the spaces in your life, what's in your drawers, what's in your house. Also, what areas of your house are you spending the most time in? Jupiter in Cancer, right? It's asking us to look at our housing and to make that better and to really have the most wholesome, exalted sense of home in the 12-year cycle with Jupiter there. That could be an area that we could work on as Aquarius people, as I feel that quincunx for you. You may not really be cognizant yet of what changes you needed to make, or there might have been other things kind of like hogging your attention, like in your house, like if you're self-employed, maybe like overworking in the house, or if you've been like out of the house too much, maybe you've just not been able to think that much about it. But yes, I would think about like what are the activities that I'm doing in my house the most? Am I just there to like sleep before I go back to work? Am I also like not wanting to leave the house maybe? Or there's something about how, again, spaces are filled in your life, what dominates those spaces, and beginning to transform that to have better, larger results, meaning like the small things filling your spaces in your life will make a huge difference in the larger outcomes. And you might want to scale it down, or you might want to even eliminate certain practices or certain foods that you're eating in the house, or certain activities that your house is going through, maybe something that really has to change. So it's nice to be cooking more in the home with Jupiter in Cancer always. It's nice to be having more solid people in the home, making sure that the home is a sanctuary, and that we are also treating our ultimate home, which is our body, home of the soul, as best as we can, keeping it a sanctuary. Okay. Yes, that could be sort of intersecting with the home as well. Like, what's the type of cleanliness of the environment that you're putting your body into? What rituals are you putting your body through daily, right? With the South Node in Virgo still, this all feels kind of like, of course, a yod to Aquarius. We have the South Node in Jupiter. So it's really kind of like pointing you out and pointing out areas in your life that are needing a change in calculation. I feel also that your home is tasked with helping you to recover from previous year's mental funnel. So things which have been overly focused on, things which have been overdone. Your home is kind of meant to be what brings you out of that and sort of delivers you from something that was too overwhelming before. So this is like reduction of overwhelm in your life, reduction of over-exhausted, burned out focuses, and letting the home sort of be the center of that, and beginning to think through, okay, this sounds so simple, but it's kind of like what this entire year is about. It's a lot of what 2025 was about too. Thinking through our own potential and what we want to do on this planet, and not letting that all get sucked up by more unconscious things or doom loops, jobs we don't like, bills we don't want to pay, addictions, escapism. So really trying to reduce all of that stuff as much as possible so that you can get a better idea of how you want to use your time. And with this sort of very responsible or brave choice I feel that you're making in your day-to-day to prioritize this more, that's where your real Plutonian power is going to begin to come in. Okay. And I feel like that's pretty much the only access point to it is through like really removing other things that are kind of like sucking up your energy or taking all of your time and focus and redirecting it back to yourself. The problem, or I would say the difficulty with it is that we have all these distracting things in this era. We've got the smartphones, we've got the all of the flashing lights and all of the, you know, city urbane experiences that like attract and take up time. So you may need to pare that down a little bit too, but sometimes this can cause a kind of like withdrawal, or it can cause a frustration because it's like we're so used to those sort of chemical reactions that experience causes. So you have to kind of go through a flat line and then kind of re-emerge with a different consensus about your general life standing, also career hierarchy, social caste system could be coming up for you here as well. So like, I feel like you're kind of in that Aquarian rock and hard place, which is like, do I integrate with the sort of normal hierarchical structures? Am I going like a more unconventional path? And there's a lot of wavering for everyone in that decision. So like Aquarians, right, with Pluto in your sign, in this very, very powerful year, through the engagement that you do, you're going to be defining that not just for yourself, but for a lot of people. So it is also very interesting to share your feelings about stuff like this year. Try to not be too secretive or reclusive, as other people will naturally be interested in your opinions about this, although they may also not agree with you. So anyway, okay, moving on. Pisces 2026. Okay, Pisces 2026, one of the most interesting signs for this year, having just gone through 2025 with all of those incredible transits for you, where you had Neptune and Saturn both transiting the anaretic part of your sign, and those grand water trines. Okay, let's talk about coming past that and stepping out on a new leaf for some of you. The way that I feel the sign of Pisces here is it's either quite pleased with itself and its choices, or it's quite ashamed of itself and its choices, or both. So there's this feeling of like pride in oneself and one's, expectations, and like also like not being really okay with any of it either. So like, I feel we have like two-mindedness, okay, in coming out of 2025. I think we've got duality. I think we've got impossibility as well. There's a feeling of sort of overtone, totality, and crux, and this feeling of, how do I come to a conclusion about what's happened in 2025? How do I label certain things? And how do I also step forward, selecting a path when I have such a two-minded kind of idea about what's happened? So this is the difficulty coming into this year. And I would say like upwards of like March through June 2026, it's feeling to me like it's very deliberative and it's very much processing. So maybe you're not even thinking about things in the past super directly, but what you are doing is you are kind of slowly doing background processing and slowly kind of eliminating, digesting a lot of these experiences, but that's not done, and for some of us won't be done for a while. So this, a lot of this year, especially the Jupiter in Cancer portion of the year up till about July or August 2026, will be about giving yourself comfortable, safe, peaceful environments which you can sort of process and digest these experiences that have happened and understand narratives beyond personalized narratives. So there's a challenge for Pisces in 2026 to definitely see things from multiple people's perspectives. You would have really been challenged also with that in 2025. Again, looking at overtone experiences, looking at things, forest for the trees, not getting really bogged down in the weeds of certain things. And, how can any of us do that perfectly in this world? I don't know, but there is something that wants you to go a bit higher in 2026, and it wants you to understand why other people felt the way that they did. It wants you to understand how you really feel, as many Pisces kind of obfuscated their own internal feeling for other people in 2025. And there is a lot of internal frustration also processing through. So it's like, again, pleasure with oneself and anger with oneself. Two sides of the same coin, duality. It's the other side of the coin now. So whichever side of some kind of two-minded or two-sided situation that you were feeling in 2025, now it's like the other side. Okay, so there are like interesting sequential narratives, I feel, for the sign of Pisces in 2026. It's such a karmic year for everyone, not just for Pisces, but especially for Pisces. You get everything you put out, and it's not even in a cliche or sort of cathartic way. Simply, you've got this other side of the coin that you're working with. Maybe for some Pisces, they've stepped into more so of like a dark phase, or they're working more so with the word no, or with the veto power, or with the, boundary power chip or something of life. And now those get to be for you. So look at what your power infrastructure is. So I like to think about history when I think about power, and when I think about the way that humans in this material plane assert their own power, and what we can all deduce and understand as a fact about power in the earth plane is that which we can derive power from in the material world can either empower us, or it can also hold us hostage. So it's easy in 2026 to be kind of held hostage as a Pisces by the mechanics that you yourself have created. If you're unwilling to process them and, I suppose, amend them in a way that allows transcendental connection. Sometimes we think my house is a safe place for me. When I'm in my house, I am safe. Or when I have like independent housing, I am safe. This same house can become a mechanism of like an imprisoning mechanism, and can block and prevent some type of engagement that would have, got you out of this odd context like years and years ago. So you have to think about boundary mechanisms in the year of 2026. You have to think about ciphers as well. So things that words, mechanics, instruments that give a certain implication to you or other people. This could be documents, legal documents. This could be also some kind of communication. This could be a method of communication. This could be some kind of boundary complex. This could be some infrastructure that you're using to connect with other people that sort of diverts natural connection and sort of keeps a certain safety net in place as you nonetheless have communication. So it's sort of like two worlds at the same time. This could be like dating apps or something. So any of these apparatus will be something that you have to really reform in the year of 2026, because what Pisces can see essentially is that, this is hard to say, you all, but a lot of what we've thought would be a certain like trump card or power apparatus for us can now be a ball and chain per se, or can now be preventative in, sustaining what is important for us. Sometimes boundaries become so strong, especially having had Saturn just go through your sign, right? Boundaries can become so strong that they block out the connections that matter, and they, grow connections that are harmful, or they grow isolation. Look at the things in your life that you have vetoed or said no to, and look at the things that you've said yes to, and sort of ask yourself if this is the right combination of yes and no. Because what gets chaotic with some of these apparatus mechanisms or these ciphers is oftentimes you get this kind of like antithesis spectrum going, meaning like the yes becomes the no and the no becomes the yes. Like I'm on the dating app from my home, I'm alone in my home, but I'm connecting with someone. How can both be happening at the same time? They can't really. Okay, so I've got like keys to some kind of like very powerful mechanism, but like I'm not in the powerful mechanism, I've just got the keys to it. This is all like mental gymnastics to reaffirm our own safety blanket, to reaffirm our own security mechanisms as a certain psychological tactic to self-soothe. So look at psychological tactics for self-soothing that may and may not have any basis in reality. Also, this can be like pillow communication. What do I mean? Like, I'm talking to this person on this dating app and it gives me a sense of connection, but I very much know that I will never meet this person. It's like a mind you know what. It's not like, it's like an inversion. So like I'm feeling that there are a lot of energy inversions coming from the 2023 through 2026 year cycle. Definitely check out my Saturn and Pisces video, which I'll link below in the description box for you all. Because that would be so good to do some past reversion on. And that's one of, honestly, I think the best videos on my channel ever. And it really details the paradigms that we were in over the last 3 years, which we are stepping out of now. And there's an all signs portion to it. But I don't know, Pisces. I'm feeling like the focus that we've put onto certain things needs to be withdrawn, and we need to begin focusing also on our own self-improvement at like a very deep and honest level. So maybe we need to work more on getting our talents and skills in order rather than participating in these zero-sum game inversions, okay? Maybe we need to hold the people that we love close rather than pushing them away. Maybe we need to step further distance ourselves from people that we know are problematic rather than inching closer. Okay, so it's also inverted. It's like mind numbing to me. Like it's so inverted, Pisces, and that's okay. Having like Neptune and Saturn in your sign at the same time, that's like a millennia rare transit that we've had on the cusp, not only of Pisces and Aries, but of the entire zodiac. It's not easy. It's not easy. And you guys have so much power. Like what's crazy is like the power that you have over the people in your life and how I think special you are to them. But there's this alchemy, there's this gravity, there's this importance, but also we're like navigating all of this poetic thinking, all of this inverted consensus. And you may just see that certain things, certain decisions, certain engagements in your life need to be like reinverted. Okay, so you have to like go back on things, or you have to switch things up to make them balanced and to make them harmonious now. So there's a switch up in 2026 for Pisces in a lot of ways. And I think that this will ripple throughout most elements of your daily life. So you may have totally different circadian rhythms, totally different biorhythms. If you've been a night owl, you may now become a morning person. If you've been sort of a hermit, you may now become more of a social butterfly. So again, contrast, that's a big keyword for the 2026 cycle for all signs, is contrast. So you want to see what lifestyle choices have maybe been entrenched or consolidated for all of your life, and try to put a contrast on those, because a lot of us need a wake-up call here. A lot of us need to really come to in 2026, as some of us have been kind of dazed or in some kind of like trauma response, unconscious buildup of sorts. And we have a very powerful opportunity with 0 degrees Aries to live a new life, okay? Or to start powerful new relationships, powerful new careers. But with that comes a question of how the old, or how the previous, is processed and is dealt with, or recorded into our life, kept in our experience. So I'm also getting like energy banks, or banking in general, how we reserve or store our resources, how we store our memories, how we contain things in our lives. And that will be something to look into, as you could have things sort of siloed or compartmentalized in a way that is inverse or not really charging your life situation. So yes, easy to have life situations that are kind of like draining your resources rather than growing them. Inverted resource curve, okay? Deficits, right? Do you want deficits? Do you want surplus pluses? Do you want more people in your life? Do you want less people in your life? Like, this is like math and levers and choices and sort of like a overview of macros. But this can get very, I don't know, kind of like psycho after a certain point as well. Where it's like all that matters in my life are numbers, or, you know, people are just numbers to me, or the memory of certain people are like something to be in my scrapbook. So there's kind of like an objectification of memory, or an objectification in a desperate attempt to bring materiality to some of this more inchoate experience that happened over the last few years. So Pisces, I think that we can simplify all of this down beautifully in such a simple way. So just like easy givens in life. Running a little bit of a budget surplus is never going to be bad, okay? And it doesn't have to be hard to get that context. Making positive points in our relationships, telling people that we appreciate them, having healthy boundaries, yes, having all of that good stuff. Like, just try to keep it simple this year and don't get too poetic, I would say, with the choices. Like, through this deficit, I'm going to, you know, feel what it's like to not have enough, and I'm going to be inspired to like really take charge in my life, or through this difficult breakup, or through this unsanctimonious disconnect from this person, I'm going to, we're both going to learn these lessons, or this is just like what is normal in society, or, you know, we're kind of just like out of control of the way that the relationships ebb and flow. So like, instead we can just kind of simply come together and express the care that we have, or we can begin to just keep these simple kind of like +1 situations. You know, easy numbers, easy sentiments, easy non-failing choices. You know, it's not going to fail if I, you know, build up my holdings of precious metals, for example, or it's not going to fail if I keep on with a business that's worked for a decade. It's just not going to fail. It's not going to fail if I remind certain people in my life how much I care for them. This is never going to fail. It's never going to have a bad result, okay? But when we're in these inverted psychologies, it becomes kind of like a question, like, I'm worried that if I tell that person how much I care about them, they'll think that I mean something that I don't mean by that. Or I'm worried that if I, you know, learn about investing, or if I learn about true sources of value, that I won't ever feel comfortable allowing myself to indulge in, I don't know, credit card spending, or some kind of like financial culture that's dominating the society that I'm also drawn to at the same time. Or I'm afraid if I leave this addiction behind, that the flat line or the withdrawal from that is simply going to be more than I or my life or my job can handle. So there are all of these like hooks kind of built in here, where it's like, I know what I need to do. I know what the right thing to do is here, but, oh, that's so scary, Pisces. I know what the right thing to do is, but what in the world can we say to make this, you know, okay? Let's like take the complexity off of things. Let's bring this all back to a more simple font, okay? And what you can do, and what I think is probably the highest vibration for Pisces in 2026, is just kind of going through and correcting all of the places that you can. So like, this account is in deficit, I'm going to have to pay that. This bill is not something I should be paying, I'm going to cancel that. This relationship went wonky and weird, I'm going to just, if I can, repair that in an easy way. This relationship doesn't belong in my life, I'm going to address that. This is, you see all the crooked kind of like sort of loose ends. It's like kind of like a loose end tying year. So it can also be a year where a lot of time is just needed to be spent, cleaning up the house, sitting in comfort and sobriety, thinking about what we want to do with our lives, okay, and what our life force energy is best directed toward. And again, what I'm getting for you Pisces coming out of 2025, and it's kind of hard to articulate it, but I'm sure that you guys kind of understand what I'm getting at here. Just really keep an eye on contradictory actions. So, for example, wanting to get into good shape, but still selecting fast food meals, wanting to have certain like limitations on a relationship, yet having certain dialogues that don't indicate that. Okay, so essentially you can friend zone people, yet engage them in a way that sort of contradicts that and create like a lot of confusion, or maybe someone has done that to you. And there's just like a lot of contradiction and inversion coming from these last few years. And I'm seeing that some Pisces people feel that to be a certain superpower, and I'm sure there is an art to contradiction in this world, and that does sometimes work that way. But what also will start to happen now that everything's in the more simple one-toned energy of Aries is that a lot of that contradictory stuff will just melt away, and basically you get back what you put in. So if you, put up a boundary here, someone else will put up a boundary to you. If you talk to 500 other people while talking to one person is going to talk to 500 other people while talking to you. And essentially we make like a blender kind of situation that's just kind of chaotic and never really gets anywhere. So like I feel like all these Pisces people in these like mass macro situations, one of many people getting some type of benefit package, one of many people seeking employment, one of many people on the dating apps. And it's just like, can we access the more meaningful part of who we are? Can we differentiate and individualize? Because what a lot of Pisces don't understand, that through these inverted, contradictory energy spectrums, they're de-individuating and they're becoming a certain kind of, what is the word? It's like dehumanizing, de-individuating, becoming another drop in the ocean, like doling effect, which would be the outcome of imbalanced Piscean energy, right? Which is very much about hyper-collectivism, humanitarianism, groupthink, mass psychology. And I think that every single person with strong Pisces in their chart, or Pisces people, you have to begin a process of stronger individuation. For some of us, this means going back to school. For some of us, this means starting our own business. For some of us, this means criticizing our own long-held beliefs, because a lot of Pisces could be suffering here also from something resonated to me before, and now I say the same thing that resonated to me before. So like external input to a Pisces becoming something that feels like an internal feeling. So essentially, like, it could be successful brainwashing, it could be successful partisan politics, it could be something that is like pre-generated and sort of implemented that we can kind of like get possessed by if we're not careful. So how do we work with this? I think that a lot of us as children perhaps said yes when we wanted to say no, or did things that we didn't want to do, or we became adults and we're like sort of conditioned to work within that form of contradictory politeness, or just a sort of state of incoherence for the peace of mind of other people. And where this sort of contradictory mechanism gets very hard, Pisces, is when people who support us, people who like us, people who want to see us succeed as Pisces, when we go against those people, because this is like along the lines of that contradictory kind of element. So like we don't want a self-sabotaging Pisces here. We don't want to, like, imagine, say, for example, you've started a social media channel and you're like being mean to your subscribers or something, or you're upset at the people who like support your business. Or say, for example, you're, I don't know, like a politician or something, and you're like talking down to your constituents or something. Like these are like self-detrimental inverse choices. And that is something that we got a romance with over these last few years. So it was kind of like, what I would say, it was just like a negative kind of aura or a negative kind of life context. And yeah, maybe it stemmed from like a childhood of never being able to express your pain. And now maybe that you have a situation where that can be like expressed because of like how supported you are, or because of like how valued your assertions are. Like now it's coming out, but like this is not appropriate for the context now. So we have to like really think about differentiating the context of like when the original trauma happened versus like when we actually have something to lose in this world. I'll put it that way, Pisces. And a lot of us know that. A lot of Pisces people understand that like loss has happened, or that, you know, these types of behaviors just can't like go forward if we want to have any kind of like upward mobility. And when I say that, it could be economic, but I mean like if we want to continue gaining relationships, if we want to continue gaining career status, if we want to continue learning new things or gaining on the spiritual trajectory, there's going to have to be appreciation, and there's going to have to be new support lines, and there's going to have to be, I think, some degree of forgiveness issued from a Pisces or to a Pisces, and also some kind of like, something's got to give somewhere. Some things like after these last few years would just simply no longer be sustainable. It's some type of way of thinking. It's some type of grand conclusion or grand understanding of the way that life should work. Or sometimes for some Pisces people, it's very much a case of, you know, saying whatever it takes to make what I want to be correct, if you get what I mean. So yeah, you know, Saturn's been through your sign now, and the fruits of all of that are now here. And some Pisces people have just like the most incredible fruit. And I'm sensing also some incredibly wise, like coherent, beautiful Pisces people who have the fruit of wisdom. Okay. What is the fruit of wisdom? Well, 2026 will tell you. There will also be the fruit of improper boundary philosophy. There will be the fruit of unpayable bills. Okay, there will be the fruit of dating apps. There will be the fruit of fast food. Okay, so like we get the results here. It's a very result-oriented year in 2026, and I love that because that means that there is going to be a lot of maybe what's the right word? Romanticized ideation that is going to be kind of popped by reality. And we're going to see what things are really worth. Okay, so we're going to see what our job really can do. We're going to see what our real trajectory is in a certain industry. We're going to see what anything that we are engaging in a day-to-day actually yields in our life. Okay, we're going to see healing. Okay, we're going to see like, wow, I, started, doing the celery juice. I started doing the healthy protein. I started doing a solid sleeping schedule, and all of a sudden, like I look 10 years younger, and I get all this flirtation, or I get all of this wonderful compliments in public, and now people objectify me more, and now it's harder to have platonic relationships, and now I'm back in these kind of like inverted thoughts, and I wonder if like beauty is actually a curse, and but at the same time, I feel so much better. And so like, as I said in the beginning of this video, Pisces, fortune and misfortune go together. So we have to kind of accept that. And yes, life is contradictory in nature. But I would definitely simplify. I would definitely recalculate. And I would also, I would really... I would really see appreciation. Okay, there's something about the word appreciation coming up. People who appreciate you, people you appreciate, appreciation of assets. Don't devalue that. Because something that I've been seeing coming out of 2025 and going into 2026 is like it's so hard to really have anything good in this time. So we have to really be grateful for what does work. We have to be grateful for the businesses that thrive. We have to be grateful for the people who provide quality things, whether it's like food or social media content or, just kindness in general. Check out the currency tied to anything of quality, anything of appreciation, and try to grow that more or facilitate lifestyles that bring that about to grow more. So that is what I'm feeling for Pisces. That was quite a long channeling for the sign of Pisces, but I really enjoyed it. But you guys have got it. You're super strong. Most are super wise. And I see such wonderful new adventures and journeys also coming in for you guys, especially as we get later in the year and towards 2027. Until then, we've got some like processing and recalculating to do. Yes. Okay. So, yes, thank you all so much for enjoying this 2026 year ahead forecast. Check the description box below. You can get all 12 monthly sign by signs and weekly forecasts called T-Chats on Patreon. Also, you can hit the join button below to get the 12 sign by signs monthly. Very convenient, very seamless streaming right here on YouTube with one tap, which is a wonderful new convenient offering for the channel. Also, do hit the subscribe button below, thumbs up the video, and share it to help get it out there. Finally, if you could give this channel a comment, as I would love to hear your thoughts about the 2026 year ahead. And again, subscribes, likes, and comments are a great free way to support the channel. Thank you all so much for being here. And I am so looking forward to putting together more content in 2026. Much love, everyone. Bye.